Good afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice or watching me on any social media stream via Facebook or YouTube, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Okay, so as always, I keep it very real with all of you. I am not anywhere in Pennsylvania. I had to fly out to see my parents late last night because they had just both gotten their second COVID-19 shot, and my siblings and I wanted to make sure they were okay. So I was it, right? And so I got on a plane after the show aired yesterday, packed up all my equipment. So as you can see, I had to carry my equipment with me. I carried a different kind of headphone just so that I would be able to do what I needed to do. And I have begged my father to make sure that I had a good internet connection. My parents are doing well. It's been wonderful to see them. I am exhausted. I am literally on 3 hours worth of sleep. But when I am committed to doing my work, I do it at all costs. And so traveling with my equipment so that I could continue to be on the air and do some broadcasting was important to me. I have some stuff to share with all of you. So this was my first time getting on a plane since the beginning of 2020. And based on what I saw at the airport last night, I am concerned, and I mean really concerned. People are not wearing their masks properly. They're bunching up with each other with people that they don't know. The airlines are begging people that if your ticket number hasn't been called, or if the plane lands and it's not, they're letting people off by rows, stay in your seats. People didn't stay in their seats when it was time for us to get on the shuttle to go to the baggage claim. The baggage claim, they were all bunched up together. And I literally, I carry KN95 masks with me. I make sure that I had a whole face shield. And I made sure that every time I was going to sit somewhere, I wiped everything down. If my bag had to touch any surface anywhere, I wiped my bag down. So I was very careful about the kind of bag that I carried, because it didn't make sense for my parents to get vaccinated and for me to bring the virus back into this house with them, or to even get it myself. And so my concern for all of you is that you are getting too comfortable. It's as if you think this virus has gone away. And I really believe the numbers are going to start climbing again based on what I see. Now, I don't know where all those people were going. I don't even know where all those people were going, but I am assuming it's spring break, and I saw a lot of young children with their parents. And so I'm just going to ask you all, if you must travel. For me, this was something that I had to do because we needed to make sure my parents were okay. But if you must travel, and if you decide to take vacation, I'm not mad at you for taking vacation. I want to take vacation. Please do it responsibly. Don't run around out there. Good afternoon, Michael. Malcolm, how are you? Please don't go out there and just be all willy-nilly, because not only are you putting yourself at risk, you're putting all of us at risk, right? My parents so far are doing well. I looked at them, I hadn't seen them since 2019. So when I walked into the house, I just made sure I quickly took a shower so I could at least hug. I got to hug my mother. And I could cry just thinking about it. I haven't hugged my father yet because we've been so busy talking about all the things that we need to get done. But here we are, right? We have a very, very full show today. So as always, I'm having these conversations around what we're supposed to be doing. The lineup is strong. And so, if you want to call in, now is going to be the time to do it. 215-634-8065, because I may not have space during the rest of the show to do this with you. So Franny says, my best friend and her husband are down at Wildwood and were diagnosed with COVID today. It is. It's absolutely scary. And to think, when I went and picked up my rental car, Franny, McGee. Oh, hi, Franny. How are you? I know who that is. When I went to pick up my rental car, they left the keys on top of the thing. Before I got in the car, I took out my wipes. I bought these specific wipes that were, made for airplanes. It's a very strong version of is better than Lysol. I wiped down every surface of that car before I touched it. I don't know if anybody was going to be in it, if they even did a proper job. The knobs, everything. And so I'm asking you all, I just need you all to stop pretending that because you may have been vaccinated that you are okay. You need to get it together and really pay attention, because Europe is already having a fourth surge. It looks like the United States is going to end up having a fourth surge based on what I am seeing. And I'm not telling you you can't travel. What I'm asking you to do is to be responsible when you do it. Okay? So I'm exhausted. I just need you to know. I pulled a 20-hour day on Saturday. I pulled a 16-hour day on Sunday. I pulled a 22-hour day yesterday. And I am literally on fumes of sleep because my parents want to talk. I haven't seen them. And so I got a couple of hours and I've been having conversations with them and loving up on them because I'm only here for a few days because I got to go back to work and doing the things that I need to do. But I wanted to make sure that this vaccine that they got was not going to be have an impact on them where no one was able to reach them. So I'm going to be here at least for 72 hours to make sure that they're okay. And that's what we're doing. Maurice, how are you, sir?
Hey, Sister Andrea.
Hey, sir, how are you?
Fine yourself. How are you? Can you hear me good?
I can hear you quite well. Thank you.
All right. Two things I'd like to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
One was the opening statement of the prosecutor for Chauvin, Officer Chauvin out in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the gentleman, Mr. Williams, did a good job, the one that testified about the wrestling techniques that Officer Chauvin done to Mr. George Floyd. And he did a good job describing the shimmy move, how the shimmy move put pressure on you. Every time he moved or maneuver, it put pressure on Mr. Floyd's neck, which he called off from his experience from MMA fighting. He did a good job just explaining it to the jury and to the public yesterday of what Mr. Chauvin done to Mr. George Floyd, excuse me. The second thing is going on. They called for a major boycott in Atlanta and throughout Georgia.
Right.
The black community got together, so they're going to boycott all the major corporations in Georgia, which is a great significant move. There's also a playbook from Dr. Reverend Leon Sullivan playbook.
Yes.
So when I seen it, I was like, okay, then this is what we need. These are the steps we have to take. Number one, for this kind of nonsense, what the Republicans are doing in 43 states. Also, and we're going to get reparations. Remember, I written you a long time ago. I said these are the steps we have to take.
Absolutely.
You have to be willing to sacrifice and boycott these corporations.
I agree with you, Maurice. So here's my question, because we talked about boycotting, and quite frankly, if we were paying attention and if we were awake, then we would have been boycotting and staying with the boycott. The problem is with us, I think, that we boycott for a little bit or we do a day of not shopping. African Americans in this country has $1 trillion spending quota here, right? We spend money on just about everything. If we start boycotting, and it's a simple thing, right? Just don't spend your money at specific organizations that are doing the things that are harming us in ways large and small. If we would do that, we wouldn't have half the issues that we're having today, because money talks every day, all day, right?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So the thing is, though, the pressure is being put on Black America. We are going back into slave code. We're in Jim Crow now, but they're pushing us back to slave codes. And if 43 states pass what Georgia passed, we are back in slave codes. And so the pressure they put on us, sometimes Black America we become reactive instead of preactive.
Yes.
And when they put the pressure on us, sometimes we respond differently. So I think it's taking something like this harsh for us to respond and really get our attention.
Right.
And it's only going to get worse because they know and understand that 2035, there will be a shift of power in this country while the minority becoming the majority.
Agreed.
And this is what they're fighting on.
Yep. Agreed. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you for your patience with me. I see the emails.
The trip.
I will. Thank you, my brother. Take it easy, okay? All right. Bye-bye. Prince, how are you, sir?
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm barely awake.
That's all right. Yo, we live for these moments, so we're going to keep you energized. I only have three things. And my first one would be, if you call the number 311 for the Revenue Department, you barely get anyone until 5 minutes to 4. And the Revenue Department has not renewed the rental license for close to 80% of minorities, mostly being African-American folks. They're making them get lead testing on all of their units in order to recoup some of this money. And the lead testing is an outside agency. And then they're about to pass something that they have to get bed bug And so they're enforcing all of these regiments on landlord, on the smarter landlords. So what's happening is this coup is in place. Now mind you, the smarter landlords hadn't collected rental income because there's been a moratorium since last year.
Right, until June. Now,
so they've had people occupying their units, spending spending money on utilities that these folks they haven't put their money in escrow. So come June, you still have to go through the process of another 90 days to get them out of your house.
Right. Wow.
And we don't have an investigative journalist to just focus on that aspect as it is, because what they did was they created an organization that's ran by young Caucasian folks, where you have to go through the organization if you got a problem.
Let me ask you this, Prince, quickly. Let me ask you this. If because I do some investigative journalism, if you can get the people to me for me to talk to, I'll write about it. I'll absolutely do the writing. So if just get the folks for me to interview, and then I'll work on it with you all to see what's going on.
To participate. I'll get them to be callers.
Okay, not a problem. Please do. Please do. Okay. Yeah.
My second one is, did you realize that the low-income neighborhoods that we've transformed in Philadelphia, there's a low-income tax credit part, and there's a fair market housing part at the top of the hill, so to speak, right? Those fair market houses are now controlled by HOAs. And what happens is subsidized housing and HOA housing, the leverage goes to the HOA. They got more influence in your Southwest neighborhood, in your West neighborhood, in your East Falls area. And this is how when people talk about reverting back to slavery or reverting back to removing your rights and stuff like that, if you don't explain how it's being done, then to just say it doesn't have any validity. Explain it to the people, because your politicians are the ones letting this happen.
Let me ask you this. Explain to people what HOA is. I never want to assume that people know what HOA means.
It's homeowners association. When you move from Philadelphia and you go out to Abington and all these new developments constructed by these Italian developers, the first thing you're hit with is a homeowners association relationship where they'll cut your grass for you, they'll mow your lawn or fertilize, but they'll also rehabilitate your house without your permission, putting that $60,000 or $70,000 hit back on you. Take all your windows out, take your fake stone off, and rehabilitate your house. And that's where we haven't educated our successful African American people who say, "I'm just going to leave Philadelphia and move to this new development." And as soon as you move to that new development, you're hit with fees. It's no different than getting a house down Florida. You might go visit down there, but your house, most of the houses that you get down there are under some HOA oversight.
You're absolutely right. And in Atlanta, oh my gosh,
right. That's exactly correct. And my last point is, and I want to get a picture for you, because we spent $2.3 or a little more $1 million for these fans to go into these schools that were inadequate in reference to whatever air that's supposed to have been dispensed in comparison to the size of the room. They're inadequate. But through the procurement process, who did we give the millions of dollars to make an instant millionaire for these dollar store fans that you put in all of these schools that were deemed inadequate, and you have to spend another $10 million for an air ventilation system?
Did you ever find out who they gave those millions of dollars for those bad fans?
I was posing this question because this is a city controller's question. This isn't a print. Look it up. This is when we get the city controller in here, we need to have her find out how the procurement department let go these fans, which had deemed to be in less than 30 days inefficient. So what happens to that kind of money? Like who has the permission to authorize spending waste of that kind of money? And this is where I don't really care about how long a person has been on a job. I don't care their ideology. All I care is when you waste money like this, the head of each department should be fired, should be let go. Because you made some person who's a vendor outside of this city who don't pay property taxes for Philadelphia, who made his kids millionaires. He can live in that nice house because we're giving out a $2 million contract to fans that are deemed to be inefficient.
And they thought that it was okay, which is so crazy to me. I don't know if you heard the interview that I had with Rebecca Reinhardt, and she spoke of the fact that she wanted to do an audit on the Philadelphia School District and had her hand slapped. She didn't get any further than that, but that's what she intimated. Well, so that and the parking authority, they're just, they fight her on, so those two entities.
When George say that you can't talk about the mayor or you can't touch his people, then that's what he means. When she wanted, do you realize the only way I was able to write part of my book is because Alan Bukovich did an audit on University Charter School.
Right.
And found out that those teachers that they had, the teachers that they did not pay them on a regular pay scale, they paid them off pay scale, which is illegal, but also that they let all these teachers go. Out of 21 teachers, 13 of them was white, and you had the classes manned by the sisters and guards that were aides. And that came through the report from Alan Bukovich. So the problem is that when you are taboo to report, and when we don't have too many journalists, people in journalism that have a path to do that kind of research, then we're left holding the ball, and then we make it emotional because our politicians won't do their due diligence because they're bought and sold before they get into office.
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much. I am going to look up that piece. I got to get back on the plane, but once I do, I'll respond to everything that everyone's talking about. But I am going to reach out to Rebecca Reinhardt's office about this. Okay.
Just be safe, and we'll see
I
when
will.
you get back.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Take it easy. I know I have one caller. I'll take her and introduce my next guest when I come back from the break. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Small business owners are navigating an evolving small business landscape brought on by coronavirus. However, their resilience is reflected in Bank of America's 2020 Small Business Owner Report, a nationwide survey on 1,000 small business owners, which found that nearly 1/4 of small business owners took steps in 2020 to retool their offerings and/or leverage their resources to support relief efforts in their communities. While many saw an impact in their bottom line last year, small business owners anticipate a strong post-pandemic environment, and 79% believe small businesses will return to be the backbone of the U.S. economy. Inspired by the small business owners facing unprecedented challenges, Bank of America continues their commitment to help small business owners in Philadelphia with the necessary resources to sustain and grow. For more information, visit bankofamerica.com.
This Women's History Month, WURD Radio is proud to celebrate Black women innovators and trailblazers who have helped us all level up.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Academy Award-winning costume designer Ruth E. Carter. Her film credits span 30 years and over 40 films, including some of the most iconic in the Black film cultural lexicon. Peep this list. School Days, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, House Party 2, Jungle Fever, The Five Heartbeats, Malcolm X, What's Love Got to Do with It, Crooklyn, Baps, Rosewood, Armistad, Love and Basketball, Shaft, Bamboozled, Baby Boy, Sparkle, The Butler, Selma, Black Panther. So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. See you next episode.
This Women's History Month vignette was brought to you by Bank of America and New Voices for Reproductive Justice, Women of Color Herstory.
WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. This year, we're highlighting Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. A big thanks to all of our nominees for joining us on this journey. We had an overwhelming response with almost 100 nominations. Tune in to Save Space with Sincerely Sarita on March 31st at 7 p.m. for a live on-air Level Up pitch party where the 10 Philly finalists will compete to win a marketing package valued at over $5,000. Level Up is a joint production of WURD Radio in Philadelphia, WVON in Chicago, and KJLH in Los Angeles. 3 Black-owned radio stations who are joining forces to spotlight Black women-owned businesses in Philly, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Don't forget, join us March 31st at 7 p.m. for the 2021 Level Up Pitch Party, hosted by Sincerely Sarita, where local Black women entrepreneurs will pitch their businesses to a panel of judges. Visit wordradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information. The 2021 Level Up Contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, Pico, Keystone First, and Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before I take Naomi on, let me quickly take Maxine. Maxine, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good afternoon, madam. How can I help you?
Good afternoon. I wanted to speak on one of the points that Prince had, I think it was Prince, had brought up about dealing with the city, where I had rehabbed a piece of property and was trying to get an occupancy license for my tenant. And it was, I'd say it's still at least 3 months before the new lead rule was going into effect. The eclipse thing, we went back and forth. They kept saying, well, you need this. We send them this. Is this everything you need? They say yes. And then they would come back, a week or two later saying, no, you still need this
something
and
else.
Right.
And it's all
so
of this
went back and forth until the day actually passed where we had the lead testing, which is fine. It's a new rehab. You know it's going to pass. You get the lead testing, then you ask for the occupancy license. The problem then becomes, since you have a tenant, there's a duplex on the first floor that's being evicted, so therefore they won't let the man in to test downstairs. Even though upstairs passed the lead inspection, you still don't get the occupancy license because your whole building does not pass.
Wow.
Even though there's somebody already living downstairs and upstairs is brand new, you can't put anybody in upstairs because they still won't give you the license.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. I'm going to follow up on that and ask some questions, okay? I appreciate your calling in. Thank you, my sister. All right. Bye-bye. All right, bye-bye. All right, Michael, let Naomi in for me, please. Naomi Studdevan is the founder of Advocacy Unlimited, LLC. She received her BA in psychology from Clark Atlanta University and MBA from the University of Phoenix and has acquired almost 18 years of experience and training in education and behavioral health. Good afternoon, Naomi. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
I can't see you yet. Where are you? There you go. You and I began this series of great conversations in 2020 about parent advocacy, and then COVID hit. Your glasses are cute, by the way, honey. Very nice.
Right after.
Right after, right? So what's going on a year later? What update do you have for us?
Oh, my gosh. There's so much that has happened. And I was just listening to your other conversations, but so much has happened with the schools, and there's still so much uncertainty, right? Because not all schools have made decisions, because we see that there was we're about to get back in the building. Then it was, the conditions are not acceptable yet. So there's been a lot of push and pull when it comes to both the parents and the students.
Right.
So I'll say that a few things that I wrote down that I really wanted to hit on is just parents kind of taking this opportunity to really document and observe their own children.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've talked about in previous discussions is, not my child, or I just don't understand what they're talking about when parents hear certain things from the schools. Well, now we've had a whole year of having our children at home with us. So you get to observe how they interact with the class and how they interact with the teacher and where their struggles really are.
Right. Okay, so here's my question. I have a question for you because I spent Sunday afternoon in a Zoom conversation regarding this. The PSSAs are coming up. The Department of Education, the Pennsylvania Department of Education, is letting people, know that they have to be prepared for this. Despite what we've seen happening here in the last year, children are falling way behind in their studies. Some children can't be found at all. And so what advice are you giving parents around the upcoming PSSAs? Because spring break is around the corner and PSSAs are starting at April 12th. Yes, April 12th, right after spring break ends. So what advice are you giving parents in preparation for this? Because according to the Department of Education, they have to take it. So
this is so funny because, like just earlier, my girlfriend and I were just having the same conversation because I got the letter in the mail for my son for the Keystones. Because he's in 10th grade. So the Keystones are actually a state and governmental mandated, for Pennsylvania, the Keystones are, state mandated. And not just that, but it's an actual graduation requirement. Now, right? And so that is the big question right now is what do we do? So honestly, for PSSAs, for me personally, I'm going to say personally, the PSSAs, we know that the information that they acquire from the PSSAs is used to determine what schools, kind of like how they're doing. They rank schools and they determine how much funding goes to each school. And even before the pandemic, children would get so nervous because the schools make such a big deal about it. And I remember my kids even coming home and saying, can you opt us out of the PSSAs? We don't want to take it. It's too much pressure. And I told them, take the test. Whatever happens, happens. This is not a grade that you're getting. This is not it. This doesn't determine whether or not you go to college. To be quite frank, the PSSAs are more for, it's documentation. It's data. It has nothing to do with how well your children are performing in school, quite frankly. That's not what that data is used for. So if
but the Keystones, the Keystones are very different in that if you don't pass the Keystones, if it says that you're not proficient, you will get a high school diploma, but it would be just a basic high school diploma. It won't say that this person is proficient in X, Y, and Z. And people are very concerned about the Keystones, and they're concerned about the PSSAs, that their children, the PSSAs matter to a certain extent. And so parents don't know what to do. So, according to you, they should just go ahead and take the test.
Take it. However they're presenting it. So again, it depends on how the schools are presenting it as well. So when I was talking to my one girlfriend, they're out in Southeast Delco School District, and they're trying to have them go in. I'm not going to say exactly what the process is, but what I will say is that when it comes to the PSSAs, there is a way to opt out. And Google is your friend. So there is a way to opt out of the PSSAs. They are not mandatory. Again, it's a shame because if you look on social media, I'm sure you've seen it over and over again. Teachers are begging for administrators, for our Congress people to get rid of the standardized testing for this year. They beg for that. So parents, please don't think that this is a teacher thing. They don't want to do this either because they know that this is asking the children to do way beyond what they should have to do right now.
This is a lot. So I want to have a conversation on April 5th about this. I think I'm going to invite you back to that conversation so that we can talk about what that means, because that was the very thing that they were saying, that parents could choose to opt out, but that educators can't tell the parents. The educators are beside themselves. Like, what are we doing here? We haven't been able to teach much of anything. Some children have been AWOL. And so how are we to prepare them for? And part of the reasoning is that schools and school districts are penalized, quote unquote, right, in terms of funding and, when the children aren't passing the test. So what does that look like for them if the children don't do well? You know what I mean?
That's where, that's where the bigger concern is that or come next year, are we going to see less funding in these schools because so many children did not take these tests? So that's where again, that's why we have to call your local representatives, period. Call them and say, listen, these kids cannot take this test. That's the only way it's going to happen. It's not a school decision. This is a state decision to keep these tests in place. So make sure that you reach out to your reps and say, this is how I feel. This is how it is going to affect my child. You have to speak up for yourselves and your children.
Yeah, agreed. What else do you have for them?
Oh, Andrea.
Listen.
I'm going to tell you, especially for we always talk about IEPs and special education. And one of the things that I kept seeing throughout this school year is a lot of me having to explain to school staff how they're supposed to function when it comes to this IEP and the NORREP and the 504 plans. There was a lot of, when we go back, this is what we'll do. When we go back, this is what will happen. And this was since September, right? It's kind of like, oh, when we go back in a building, we'll put these services in place. And here it is. Now we're in March, about to go in April, and we're still not in the school building. So has your child not received services for this entire school year? If that is the case, we know that that's a problem. And so again, reach out to someone. You need to reach out to someone, because not only were services supposed to continue, if they weren't continuing in the capacity that they were when the students were in the building, that should have come across in writing as well. So for example,
what if it didn't though? Because a lot of things are going by the wayside as a direct result of people, because not only the students have traumatized, educators are traumatized too, and many of them got COVID.
Yes. A lot of educators were still trying to figure out the systems. A lot of districts, a lot of schools, a lot of the charter schools didn't put the proper systems in place, is what I'll say. I've seen kids' schedules, whole schedules in elementary school. We know in elementary school, you pretty much keep the same schedule throughout the entire school year. I have seen students' schedules change 3 and 4 times throughout the year. I have seen them have to try to pop in, and there's all these different links and so much going on. So yes, as a parent, you're frustrated. The children are frustrated. The educators are frustrated. And again, it's not, if I don't make anything else clear when I speak, I want people to know that when it comes to the education system, right, there's all this trickle down, right? Teachers themselves, right, they get it from every angle. I've seen so many good teachers that want to do the right thing, that want to teach their children to do everything that they can for their students, but administrators are tying their hands. Administrators are not giving them the supports that they need. So I always want to encourage people. So from everything that we've even talked about thus far, everything leads back to the top. We have to stop just coming at the people that are right in front of us, and go to the people who are actually making the decisions. We have to.
Okay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, please reach out to Brianna and get back on my schedule for April 5th. Okay.
Absolutely.
So you'll come into that larger conversation that we're getting ready to have around this, because I don't think this is enough time. Like, you and I have to say goodbye in a couple of minutes. And so it's not enough time, but I'm going to have a larger conversation on April 5th. And if there are any parents out there listening to Naomi and I, and you want to be a part of this conversation around PSSAs and the Keystone testing, please reach out to my producer, Brianna. That's B Brown, BBROWN at WURDradio.com. It's a conversation we're going to have because the fallout from this is going to be interesting if we don't get it together. All right. How can people reach you, my love?
Yes, you can reach me at 215-572-0612, or you can email at info@advocacyunlimited.net. And you can find me on Instagram, Advocacy Unlimited, and website, www.advocacyunlimited.net.
Okay. Thank you, my love. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. This is good. You know, we started so well last year, and we were doing Jesus, it felt like a weekly segment. So we're going to go back to that as children start to matriculate back into schools. We need to have more conversations so that parents can get an idea of where they are and what their options are
and how much they're owed. Quite frankly, so many students are owed, and I want to make sure that everyone gets their piece so that we can catch them up, because a lot of students lost an entire school year of education.
Agreed. Naomi, thank you so much. We'll talk next Monday. Okay? All right, my darling. All right, bye-bye. All right, y'all. So I want to tell you a little bit about if I can find it. I'm telling you, there's so much going on. There's so much going on here. Hold on. I want to give it to you so that you have it. Oh my God, there's so much. My schedule today is insane. Dear Lord. So WURD Radio and Museum of the American Revolutionary 2021 Women's History Month promotional, we're doing a ticket giveaway. So the first person that can answer this question, I am going to do it again. At 2:40 and 3:40. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. Call into the radio station, but when you call in, if your answer is correct, make sure you give Michael your contact information so that we can get back to you, okay? So the first question I have is, who was America's first published Black female poet? All right, and answer that question for me. Call Michael if you know the answer to it, and we'll move on from there, because we're giving away prizes for this. All right, and so before I go into my next guest, I'm going to also do this piece. This year, we're highlighting Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. A big thanks to all of our nominees for joining us on this journey. We had an overwhelming response with almost 100 nominations. Tune in to Save Space, hosted by Sincerely Sarita, on Wednesday, March 31st. That is tomorrow, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a live on-air Level Up pitch party where the Philly finalists will compete to win a marketing package valued at over $5,000. The 2021 Level Up contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, PECO, Keystone First, and Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Mike, how's your day going?
I'm having a great day. I just bought property on bidforassets.com.
What's Bid for Assets?
It's the new way of buying property from the sheriff's sale.
I've been meaning to buy some real estate. How can I get involved?
Register for free to make a deposit and to participate in the upcoming auction on April 6, 2021 at bidforassets.com. They have sold more than 125,000 properties with a simple and easy process. Now it's your chance to buy property. Visit bidforassets.com.
WURD Radio, in partnership with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, and LabCorp, have teamed up to launch Go to Know, a new public health campaign to reduce colorectal cancer in the Black community. Join Nick Taliaferro on Tuesday, March 30th at 5 p.m. for a special conversation with doctors and a colorectal cancer survivor discussing the latest information on how to prevent, treat, and diagnose colorectal cancer. Most importantly, you'll learn how to make sure you and your family members can stay well and live a long and healthy life. Throughout this program, you can request a free, easy, at-home colorectal cancer screening test called a FIT kit that is designed to provide early detection of colorectal cancer, so you'll want to go to know. Join us for the kickoff of Go to Know, Tuesday, March 30th at 5 p.m. on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I'm going to put this disclaimer out here because I am at my parents' home. I flew in to see them late last night, early this morning. They got their second vaccinations, and my siblings and I decided that one of us needed to be here to make sure that they did not have any adverse reactions. So I put up the screen, the WURD radio screen, and my father walked by twice. I said to my sisters, oh my God, my father just walked Gotta love. Thank God the WURD thing is up, so you all can't see it. That's what happens when you have parents, right? And I missed them and loved them so much. It was hilarious. But I am here, so I have a little bit of time to take a couple of other callers, 215-634-8065, before I go to my next guest. So if you want to call and talk to me about anything, please let me know. I'm going to read a little bit of news now because so much is going on. The Derek Chauvin trial is happening. That is the ex-police officer that put his foot in George Floyd's neck and turned this country, really. He literally, what he did there was what caused the entire country to erupt. It was just one too many things happening. And we have holidays coming up. Good Fridays on April 2nd and Easter Sundays on April 4th for anyone who celebrates. I learned last week that for Easter, for people of Jewish, that are Jewish, it's not a good time for them because they were persecuted around Easter. And so they're asking that if you are not of Jewish descent, not to practice a Seder. And I'm going to have someone to talk about that. It's just so amazing, the things that are going on. And also on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro today at 5 p.m., go to No Panel Discussion, a new public health campaign to reduce colorectal cancer among African Americans in southeastern Pennsylvania. Discussions with doctors and specialists about the risk of colorectal cancer. So I talk to you all, I'm real open about my health stuff, right? So because I'm of a certain age, it is time for me now to get a colonoscopy, mammograms, all of those things. And I chose Dr. Blake, and so I am going to have my colonoscopy on Monday, April 5th, before I go live on the air. And I'm doing this, I'm sharing with you all openly and publicly because the process has become so much easier. I'm getting the more invasive colonoscopy done because this is my first one. This is my base one. But literally, they give you a little container and they tell you to, when you go to the bathroom, put your feces in the container, close it, and send it back to the lab, and they'll test it to see if there's any blood in it, signs of cancer, whatever. It's much, much easier because people don't like the invasiveness of having to clean their colons out and go through all of that. So they're giving you easier ways to do it. But let me say this to you. Lots of people are getting colorectal cancer in these United States of America, and they are not older people. We're talking 25, 35 years old, active folks who are actively running, they're athletes, etc. So there's something going on. And so when we talk about this, when I went to Dr. Blake's office, one of the things they told me was this, and they laughed when I told them. They were like, well, how much water do you drink? I said, well, let's start with the 64 ounces that I drink when I wake up first thing in the morning, and the 64 ounces that I drink while I'm exercising, and the other 2 or 3 bottles of 64 ounces, but I'm a water drinker. And so they're asking that you drink more water, that our body craves the water, and eat more roughage, right? So if you like the bread and the pasta and all that other stuff, make sure you have a piece of fruit or greens with your meals, with every meals. And that kind of helps us, I know we love the fried foods, but as we age, child, listen, the mac and cheese, the hog maws, the collard greens, all those things are just, and the collard greens wouldn't be so bad, but in our community, we put so much sugar in it. And even when, on the rare occasions that I buy food from the Jamaican store, I'm finding that they're starting to put sugar in the cabbage. So be very careful. Even when you go to the fruit stands, you see a lot of fruit stands, fruit trucks out there in the summer months, and you order a smoothie, be sure to say to them, do not add any extra sugar, because they're putting the liquid syrup sugar in it to make the smoothie taste better, and it just makes us crave and want the foolishness even more, right? If you make a smoothie in your house, you will understand that it's never ever as sweet as what you get from the fruit cart. So when you order your fruit smoothie or your fruit smoothie with vegetables, just say to them, do not add any extra sugar. That's all you've got to say, all right? And we can move on from there. Let me just check with Michael to make sure. Lord have mercy. Brother, spread love. How you doing, sir?
God bless it, John, as love, manners, and respect, Mama Andrea. How do you stay, Mama?
I all right, how you doing?
give thanks and John of glory, and give thanks for Brother Mike on the boards and all the WURD family. Everyone's suffering right now. Everyone working to make it better. Everyone incarcerated, free Mamiya. And I'm going to keep it brief for time's sake, Mama, but love for the family,
Yes, thank you. It's so good to see them. It really is. And, I haven't even seen them since 2019. So it's so funny when my sisters called. I mean, I got here at 2 o'clock this morning, 1 o'clock this morning, and I'm exhausted. Brother Spread Love, I am operating on fumes. I want to make it look cute, right? So my sisters called my mother at 6 o'clock every morning. So I went and sat in the camera, and they looked at my face and said, "Can you give Daddy back his face? I look so much like my father."
Mama Andrea, we give thanks and it's full of joy, I'm going to have to talk Yankee right now because what I got to say
go
is
ahead.
important. It's all right. First and foremost, Mama, I want to thank you because you had every right to say forget being on the air today.
I did.
But you came on the air. Because A, you know how much we love you and love hearing you on the air. B, you know how important it is to us and how much important information you bring to us. And also I want to apologize for the Yankees who don't call in and ain't give you enough love to realize that. I can understand people want to prove their point and all that, but you are way more important than anything we could even try to prove today. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, thank you, Brother Spread Love. I appreciate it.
We Yankees got to grow up. The whole world looks to us, and we ain't got even enough sense to look at ourselves honestly and healthfully. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm going to whip them into shape. They going to really hate me. But, Mama, listen, I got two more things real quick. Number one, you're talking about the food. Remind people about the plastic rice and the garbage cabbage. You know what I'm talking about?
No. Yes, I know the yes, I don't. Tell me about the plastic rice.
You ain't know they was making rice out of plastic?
Sir, no, I did know about the cabbage, that if you look at it, if you put certain cabbage, if you have to test, and we do it now, right? Because Jamaicans love cabbage. So where I go to certain places, when I put the cabbage up under the fire, the flame, and the cabbage doesn't burn or change, then I'm like, well, where is this cabbage coming from, right?
It's coming from recycled garbage, Mama.
Oh, Lord, I can't even imagine.
No,
I don't even want to think about it.
It's been on the mainstream news. I got to tell you, this is real important. I don't mean to cut. Yes, they've been recycling garbage and turning it into quote-unquote cabbage. For a few years now, they've been making rice out of plastic, all right? And one more thing real quick, because I ain't going to take up your time. Any of y'all mad at me, that's all right. You can be mad at me all you want. It don't mean I'm wrong. Listen to this, Mama. What'd you just say? They don't want non-Jewish people to keep the Passover Seder? Is that what you just said?
Yes, because it's a traumatic time for them. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with it. And all them imposters need to stop, and us black people need to start keeping it. How about that?
Why do you do this to me, Brother Spread Love? Why do you do this to me?
You know why?
Why?
Praises and pure majesty Emperor King Ali Selassie Aja. Rastafari. Empress Minette. See, as it was in the beginning, so
now and ever shall be, world without end. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Now listen, Mama. I just want you to have a great day.
Yes,
and anyone that's going to call in and act like you got a point to prove and not give Mama some love for giving you a platform to prove your point, y'all know where you stand. More love.
Yes, sir. Oh, see you later, sir. Oh, my God. Gloria Gainey is asking, how can you tell if your cabbage or rice is the real thing? I don't know about the rice. I just know about the cabbage. I've seen it happen. So because Jamaicans eat cabbage quite a bit, when the texture of the cabbage started to change for me, I started to pay attention. And I was like, this cabbage doesn't, and it even tastes different. But if you're not someone who eats cabbage all the time, so be careful. I really now, if it's not organic, right, and you can tell the difference in the way the cabbage looks. And I don't know where these cabbages are coming from, but just be careful. It tastes different, it looks different, and if you put it up to the flame and the cabbage doesn't burn, then you know that there's something a little off with it, because they're genetically modifying our food and have been genetically modifying modifying our food for a long time, which is why, in health-wise, the things that we would normally eat and be okay with, we can't eat without, having all kinds of gut issues and gluten issues, and, because it's genetically modified. When it was regular old wheat and it wasn't modified in any way, then we were okay, right? So it's just really interesting. Just pay attention to your food. So what I have done, and you've seen me say this time and again, is now that spring is here, I dig up my garden while I am planting flowers. I also plant food. So I plant cucumbers and carrots and kale and, so stuff that I know that I can eat. Last year, all my onions and garlic came from out of my garden. All my fresh thyme came from out of my garden. So at least I know what I am putting in my system, right? And so we just have to be a little bit more mindful. Now, not everybody's going to be an urban gardener. Not everybody's going to be a gardener, full stop. So if you can't go out and garden, what I'm asking you to do is to pay attention to what you're buying. I tell my husband this all the time. Just because it's cheap don't mean you need to buy it. So you want to take a look and see, what is it made of, what's in it. And a cabbage and rice is difficult because they look like cabbage and rice. I don't know anything about the rice. I can't speak for the rice because I don't eat the rice anymore for obvious reasons, because my diabetic levels have been normal since I gave up white rice, and I have a spoonful of brown rice with a lot of vegetables. We talk honestly and openly about these things because I want us all to do better and be better. Yes, Michael, send them to me, please. So Michael is giving me the name of the trivia winners, and so we can move from there. And I'll have another question for you at 2:40, and another one. Oh yes, some of that fish, like tilapia. If I tell folks all the time, go to the market and watch them behead a fish. Don't sit there and take a fillet because you don't know where that fillet is coming from. And if the fish eyes are cloudy, don't buy the fish. Like, there's so much we can do. Like, our food should be sustenance for us, and our food should help us, not kill us, right? But oftentimes we don't know what we're looking for. So this is good stuff. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Olaniyan Adefume, author of the Book of Questions, needs your help. He is seeking out responses for an updated version of the Book of Questions Series 2. The topics of the book cover issues of religion, race, sex, economics, politics, and health. One example would be, what do you think of the Capitol riot of January 6, 2021? For more information, reach out to him directly at 215-678-3830 or email him at oadefumi@yahoo.com.
Don't miss the Dr. Emeka Show on its brand new day and time. Sundays from 4 p.m. till 5 p.m. beginning Sunday, April 4th. Dr. Emeka. Exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. At 1:40, I asked this question: who was America's first published Black female poet? The answer was Phyllis Whitley. And so Brian DeRoe won that contest, that question. So I'll ask the next one at 2:40. So stay tuned for that, okay? So while I am waiting for my 2 o'clock guest to pop in, let me just make sure Michael, let me know if they're there. I am going to my God, my schedule is huge today. This makes no sense. Franklin Munoz Jr., Academic Advisor, Program Coordinator for LULAC. They're in the waiting room. Let them in for me, please. Let me just make sure I have who I'm supposed to have here. Franklin. Hello, sir. How are you? Good afternoon. You're connecting to your audio. How are you?
How are you? Good, good.
I am so good. All right, so listen, let me introduce you and then we're going to talk about this. Okay, I had no idea you were young. Martha thought you were older, you know. How old are you, sir?
I am a good old 32.
Yeah.
Good young 32.
I got children your age, child. This is why you look so young to Martha. Hold on one second. Let me go ahead and introduce you. All right. So Franklin Munoz Jr. is the Academic Advisor, Program Coordinator for LULAC, LNESC, Upward Bound Math and Science. You're going to pronounce all of that for me because I don't even know what that is.
No problem.
All right. So tell us what this program is so that folks know what we're talking about.
So what we're talking about, LNESC is the educational branch or arm for an organization, a nonprofit organization called LULAC, right? So LNESC stands for LULAC National Education Service Center. Okay. So one of the programs or two of the programs that run out of the educational branch is Upward Bound Math and Science and Upward Bound. So we are a college-bound program. It's a privilege and an honor for me, first of all, to be here with you. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, my brother.
Yes. But it's also a privilege and an honor to know that I could serve in a capacity where I could serve youth and young adults. It's a tremendous blessing because one of the things that I get excited about is being able to be the platform where these young adults and these youth build their foundation on. Right. So I love to know that I could provide a platform for that.
So what does LULAC mean?
LULAC is the Latino United League of American Citizens, I think it is.
I talked to, I heard about LULAC before.
Yes, because LULAC is national.
Yeah, from Gilberto Gonzalez. When I interviewed him, he talked about LULAC, and that was the first time I heard about it.
Yes. Gilberto Gonzalez. Yeah, the League of United Latin American Citizens. Exactly.
Latin American
Citizens. Yeah, League of United Latin American Citizens. Yep.
Okay.
And I know Gilberto. Gilberto is a great friend of mine, a great brother of mine.
Yes, he is a good brother.
Yeah, we work together on so many things, community outreaches and everything. So the heart is definitely there, and definitely been a privilege and an honor working hand in hand.
Yes, so I'm glad you're here because I did tell him I wanted to learn more about LULAC, right? So tell me about the Upward Bound program. How do you get young people involved in it? Do you find them? Do they find you? And what does that mean for them when they get into it?
That's a great question. So about Upward Bound and Upward Bound Math and Science, we work specifically with several schools because we're through the education, the school board education. So we work with specific schools. So specific schools that we work with are going to be Edison, are going to be Kensington High School, K Kappa, KHSA, Penn Treaty, and MBA are the schools that we specifically work with. This program, the way that it comes about, when we come and we are able and have the possibility of recruiting students, what we do is we recruit the students either virtually, because obviously due to COVID, right? So we get in their class and we recruit our students. We recruit the students, we bring them on board, and we do have a certain amount of how many we could recruit. So in my program, I'll give you an example. In my program, I have about 64 students. So anytime there's seniors that graduate, so this year, to God be the glory, out of 13 seniors, 12 of them are going to college. 11 of them are going to college and one went to a trade school. So what we do is once those 13 move on, I have 13 slots now, and I go recruiting for more students from freshman to sophomore year and continue to help them move forward. What makes the program very unique is just a simple idea that we're not with the student just while they're in college. I mean, just while they're in high school. Once they graduate high school, we continue with them. Our goal is not to see our students just graduate high school. Our goal is to see our students obtain an associate or bachelor's degree. So we're with them while we're in college. That makes us very distinct from any other program that there is out there.
I love you. You know I love young people, right? I absolutely love young people. So when I hear anybody talking about young people and finding great things for them, so wow. So if a child is attending Edison, Kensington, Penn Treaty, Kappa, and how do you identify them, or do they come to you?
Perfect. So what we do is this. We open our application process. So what we do is our application is virtual. So they can fill it out literally right there. Our application is 2 parts, the student's part and obviously the parental part as well. There's the parent section. What we do is, and I think this is something that makes us very unique, a part of the application process, something that I love to push and insinuate, we do interviews with our students and also with the applicants, those who apply for our program. We do interviews with the student and their parents, because we realize that the better support that they have from family, the more successful they are. Not only that, we are also, it gives us leeway to also provide resources to our families, which is important, because if we impact the student, we impact the family. If we impact the family, we impact the community. We impact the community, we can impact the city, and it goes forward. It's a domino effect.
Yes, absolutely.
So what we do is we really take initiative on that interview of the parents really getting to know us and us them, be it that we do it over the phone, which a lot of times that's how we do it. It's a very small interview. It's only 7 questions. It's nothing over, but when we go into the schools identify students that we want to meet with, students that are academically either needing a little bit of help, because there is a requirement to be in our programs. There are certain requirements because it's a privilege to be a part of this program. And I want to be able to provide opportunities to those who really want to take advantage of it and do something with it. So when we do that, we definitely take advantage. Based off those applicants, after that, the second step is we do the parent interview and the student interview. The parents get to know us, we get to know them. And then from there, opens this door to a lot. And it's a great vetting process, because a lot of our students is just like, wow, like this program really goes above and beyond. And some other students are just like, you know what? This is maybe not for me or whatever, and that's okay. But the reality is
everybody to be there and to stay there. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I know world leaders that went through Upward Bound program. They've told me that Upward Bound has changed their lives, right? And so what does working here mean for you specifically? Because you have so much great energy around it.
What it means for me specifically, to be honest with you, I'm a man of faith, so it really plays a part of my calling. I love to know the fact that part of my calling is to serve others. And it connects with me in such a way that is very profound, because I have the opportunity, of very unique opportunities compared to others, to touch the next generation. And a lot of us can serve people. That's great. I don't downplay that by no means. But the fact that I'm in a unique role where I could literally touch the next generation, impact the next generation. And also I'm kin to them. I know what it is to come from a foreign country. English isn't my first language, when that is a barrier, right? I know what it is to live in a single parent dwelling, being raised by a single mother, right? Having multiple siblings. But my point being is with that, I give all the God the glory, because what continues to motivate me is to know that I can actually be a servant to them and actually make things not as hard. Because as a youth and as a young adult, sometimes we just feel like it's all overwhelmed, all on my shoulders. And I'm like, listen, I know that in our culture, you're taught that it's just like, you gotta be the go-getter. You gotta be dog eat dog. Success comes in form of a team. Success comes in form of a team. That's why we, in our culture, we're very communicative. That's why community is so important to us, because it takes a village to raise a child, not one person, a village. And I think that once we start embedding that and teaching that, the fact that we continue to, and it all starts just with one person. I remember the acronym ARC, Act of Random Kindness. And that's what we do, and we continue to move forward, and that for me is something very important to me. And I love to teach my students that, because I love for them to move forward. One of the other things I love to teach my students is that I'm hot, and I just don't mean physically, because I know they know, but I just don't mean physically. When I tell them that I'm hot, I mean I'm honest, open, and transparent. I think that's something that is super important to kind of continue to portray and move forward. I just don't do this as a profession. In my personal life, I am the young adults director at my church. So it's just like, for me, the question really comes into part, are you ever really working? I'm like, it's kind of questionable.
There you go. So, you know, it's interesting that you say that, Franklin, because I tell people all the time, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. So you're there. I can feel your passion for the young people that you're serving. How did you get involved in this? That's the one question. And then the last question I have for you is there an open process now happening for Upward Bound? Is it all year long? Is there a certain period of time that they can apply for this?
Okay, perfect. Thank you for those questions. Well, the way that I got involved with, well, let me answer the second question first.
Okay.
The application process, yes, we're always seeking out applicants from our schools. Always seeking out applicants from our school. If you want, I'm more than happy to share my email and my phone number.
Okay.
And I could share that with you towards the end and just type it in the chat, and you're more than able to send that
You're
out.
a pro at this thing, man.
Yeah. I should do radio. I would love to do radio. That would be awesome.
You literally have the personality for it.
I would love to. I would love the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then the way that I got involved is actually quite funny. And my previous employer, I was a community workforce connector. So I connected a lot of organization to our resources. And LULAC, LNESC, actually was one of the organizations that I was privileged to find. I was able to sit down with my current director now, Shane Weller, that's my brother, a really good guy, was able to sit down with him and converse, and we were able to form a partnership. Over the summer, they run a very strategic, strong program, several programs during the summer, and I was privileged to be one of the ones working on their resume and working them on employment, because a lot of our young people want to know, how can I work? How can I gain experience and also be studying? And it's something that I love to encourage. So I was able to be a part of those workshops, conduct those workshops, perform everything, have a great set out plan. And I think Shane didn't want to let me go. So when an availability became available, he definitely kept my number, definitely contacted me. And for me, it was a blessing. It was just, that was just God ordained. And it was just a blessing to know that he gave me a call. I was excited about the opportunity. And just the team that I work with in general, have a phenomenal team. Upward Bound and Upward Bound Math and Science are not successful if it's not for the team that we have. It's not just because of the efforts that I do or whatever, but it's also keeping it in prayer. And the team that I have, I think, is what makes this program so successful and continue to make us hungry to overachieve for our students, because they need it and we want it. We want to be there for them.
So Franklin, let me tell you this. I have been on this earth now about 50 rotations around the sun and then some.
You look good. You look good. Okay?
No, but listen, thank you. I know authenticity when I see it. You are a remarkable leader. You are a remarkable young man who is doing good things, not just for yourself, but you talk about we. You talk about team. You talk about how do we look at my father walking through the screen again.
Yeah.
You can't walk through the screen, sir. Everybody can see you.
That's right, baby.
you learned right away that you move only as fast as the team will go. And the more you lift and uplift other people, the better off you'll be as a leader when you get to my age at 50 rotations around the sun. Hear what I'm saying to you. You hear me? Your mother should be very, very proud. Very proud of what you've accomplished.
I appreciate
it. Oh my gosh. All right, now give us the contact information for Upward Bound and Upward Bound Math and Science.
Definitely. I'm writing my email out on the chat, and I'll verbally say it out for you as well. It's going to be F Munoz, so that's F as in Franklin, Munoz, which is M as in Michael, U as in umbrella, N as in Nancy, O as in Oscar, Z as in zebra, at lnesc.org. And you could also reach me at my work phone number, 90323. Yes. You could call me or text me there. That isn't an issue. And
717-971-0323. So if you are, 717-971-0323. If you are a young person in any of these schools, give them the name of the schools again, please, because their parents might be listening.
It's Edison. If you're in Edison, if you're in KHS, KHSA. Yeah, Kensington High School.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so then it's KHSA. And there's also K Kappa. Those are the three Kensington schools.
Okay.
And Treaty. Or MBA. Definitely MBA. I love my students as well from MBA.
Okay.
MBA as well, Mariana Berricelli Academy. Definitely give us a call, email me, and from there we'll be able to move forward and help you out, see you succeed.
Oh man, you were just one. If all my interviews were just as lively and as entertaining.
I completely appreciate it. It is a privilege. It is a privilege. It is
you
a
are
privilege
so
to spend this time.
welcome. You are so welcome. So listen, LNESC's Upward Bound program specifically provides opportunities for participants to succeed in their pre-college performance and ultimately in their higher education pursuits. Upward Bound serves high school students from low-income families as well as high school students from families in which neither parent holds a bachelor's degree. So you don't have to be like, some people go in and they show off. You don't have to do all of that. The goal is to increase the rate at which participants complete secondary education and enroll in and graduate from institutions of post-secondary education. I've got one last question.
Talk to me. No, please talk to me. That is it.
When they finish high school, do they get help for college through Upward Bound?
Yeah, they do. So one of the things that we do, so I'll give you an example. One of the things that we do is, let's say that the student needs help. Listen, I need a job. We could bring them on as a tutor for some of our high school students. We could also provide for them resources and building their resume. Let's say they need a laptop. Let's say they need a computer. Let's say that their family is going through a financial struggle and we have resources that could help them out with food or whatever the case. We're willing to go out and help out the family. So we will have that, there's the Work Ready program as well. And they can include us in that. Like, we try to go above and beyond. Recently, we delivered like Apple AirPods, student desks to their house, just to help them out. Because they're at home, so they don't get distracted. So we really do take care of it. We take pride in taking care of our own. And definitely, like I said, we love to help out those who want to succeed. And this is a great opportunity for them.
Your mother should be so proud. What does your mother think about all of what you're doing?
My mother's very proud. I mean, imagine coming from a foreign country and watching me graduate and being her first. My mother, she's a godsend. I'm so grateful for my mother and the sacrifices she's done for me. And I pray that I can make her proud. And there's still so much more that I want to do for her that I know that will come to pass.
Well, tell her I said, I am from a foreign country too. And I know what hard work and dedication and authenticity looks like. And you have all three in spades. She did an amazing job. You tell her I said that. Okay. Yes, and Franklin, it was such a pleasure talking to you. Please come back and let us know more about the Upward Bound program and if you need more people to apply for it, because we want as many students as possible to take advantage of it. Is there a cap for how many students you can take each year?
So 64 right now is all I could take, and an Upper Bound. So Upper Bound Math and Science 64 and an Upper Bound 63. So what happens is, as soon as our graduating senior class graduates, that lets us know how many slots we have available.
Right. Yes, it does.
So that's exactly how we continue to do it and kind of like move forward from there. I know that next week we have the privilege of being with you and you'll get to know some of our students as well. So I'm super excited about that. You get to know some of our students as well, converse with them and just kind of, I hope you really
wait until you see my face. I light up with students. You hear me? I love them and light up with them. I just find them to be remarkable human beings. And, if we highlight the good things that are happening with them and how they're working so hard and striving towards excellence versus all the things that are going wrong. We talk so much about violence in this city that we don't really address the ones that are doing so well and turning around and coming back to help their community. So I'm just grateful to you. So again, if you want to reach Franklin, if you are a parent who heard us talking about the Upward Bound program and you have a child in any one of these schools and you know your child can go a little bit extra in these Wacondan streets, you're going to call Franklin 717-971-0323 or FMUNOZ. Franklin, are you watching this on Facebook?
No, right now I'm on Zoom right now.
Okay, so you're on Zoom with me. So here's what I'm going to tell you. When you get off here, there's a WURD radio on Facebook. Go into the chat, you'll see my radio show and push up all this information because the parents are going to want to know. Okay, it's good enough for me to tell them, but when they see it in writing, they can copy it and call on behalf of their children. Good luck to you. You tell Shane, is that his name, Shane?
Yes.
Shane, I said he did a good job.
I will.
All right, my brother, you have a good one, okay? See you next. All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, my goodness. If I could interview young people all day long, I would. And sometimes on Sunday. Yes, I would.
Right.
That's right. All right, my brother, take it easy. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, my gosh, that was so good. That was so good. So, yeah, I have someone calling in from the head of school at Miss Hall's, and I cannot wait. That's the next conversation that I'm going to have. Again, it's all about the young people, right? We're going to continue this conversation and reach out to what we can do to help to make sure that education is not a barrier, but a door for our young people. WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. This year, we are highlighting Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. A big thanks to all of our nominees for joining us on this journey. We had an overwhelming response with almost 100 nominations. Tune in to Safe Space, hosted by Sincerely Sarita, on Wednesday, March 31st from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a live on-air Level Up pitch party where the Philly finalists will compete to win a marketing package valued at over $5,000. The 2021 Level Up Contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, PECO, Keystone First, and Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
The Germantown Friends School mission begins with a commitment to community and to the belief that academic achievement is in itself not enough. Inspired by Quaker values, GFS encourages students in preschool through grade 12 to see the world as theirs to experience, to understand, to create, and to change. Learn more about the GFS academic, arts, and athletics programs at their upcoming virtual open house, Friday, April 16th, 9 a.m. Register now at germantownfriends.org/admissions.
Hello, entrepreneurs, especially if you're in the food delivery space. CBD is one of the fastest growing health and wellness categories out today. And as it is now legal, you can expand your customer base and increase revenues per ticket by using this as a specialty food offering. CBDmealsdelivered.com is now for sale and would be a perfect website to integrate with your existing food delivery website. Thank you.
WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. This year, we're highlighting Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. A big thanks to all of our nominees for joining us on this journey. We had an overwhelming response with almost 100 nominations. Tune in to Save Space with Sincerely Sarita on March 31st at 7 p.m. for a live on-air Level Up pitch party where the 10 Philly finalists will compete to win a marketing package valued at over $5,000. Level Up is a joint production of WURD Radio in Philadelphia, WVON in Chicago, and KJLH in Los Angeles. 3 Black-owned radio stations who are joining forces to spotlight Black women-owned businesses in Philly, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Don't forget, join us March 31st at 7 p.m. for the 2021 Level Up Pitch Party, hosted by Sincerely Sarita, where local Black women entrepreneurs will pitch their businesses to a panel of judges. Visit WURDradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information. The 2021 Level Up Contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, PECO, Keystone First, and Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I feel like we're doing back-to-back education today, and I'm loving it. We just had a conversation with Franklin Muniz from Upward Bound, and he talked about the different schools that had the Upward Bound program and how they work with high school students straight into college. And now I want to talk to you about another unique space. Julia Heaton is the head of school at Miss Hall's. And so I'm going to introduce Julia after I tell you a little bit about Miss Hall's. It is a place of movement and action, of collaboration and commitment. We innovate and we adapt, both to the needs of our community and the needs of our world. Ms. Halls has provided, since our founding in 1898, an exceptional academic education and the opportunity to develop values core to the human experience: authenticity, which we saw in Franklin; respect, which we saw in Franklin; honor, which we saw in Franklin; and growth. Our students have, since the beginning, become bold and creative contributors to the common good. The good thing about Ms. Halls is that it is a place for young ladies, and I can't wait to talk about that. Ms. Heaton, good afternoon and welcome to The Source.
Good afternoon. Thank you. So excited to be here. I wish I could have met your other guest. Sounds like we have a lot in common.
He was amazing. 32 years old, authentic, just honest, talked about team, talked about, working with others versus just, being, he was just wonderful. So having you step in right after interviewing him just feels like, the icing on the cake for me. Tell us a little bit about Ms. Halls and why is this space so unique and different and important?
Yeah, thank you. So as you said in your intro, it is an incredible space of adaptation and innovation where ideas of young people are alive. And as you highlighted, the most important thing is that it is a space dedicated to the advancement of girls.
Yeah.
We are unapologetically about girls, young women, their empowerment, their voice, and their unlimited potential to change the world. So it's pretty exciting.
Yes, it is.
And a great place to be.
Yeah, so, it's interesting. I am at my parents' now, long story. But when I grew up in Jamaica, and when we took the common entrance exam, which would be what you all call the PSSAs here, to go into high school, my parents wanted us to all go to same-sex schools. So my sisters all went to and they loved it, Immaculate, St. Andrew, Holy Childhood, and they all went to the same-sex education setting, and I ended up in a co-ed setting because I just didn't follow instructions properly. But my sisters loved those relationships that they developed, and they became amazing leaders in their own right because they were so surrounded by other women that looked like them, right? Spoke the same language. Talk about the value of a same-sex education. What does that mean for the average young lady who doesn't really understand the viability of that?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. As the experience with your sisters, I talk to thousands of students, current and past, and families who speak to that same experience, that it was really transformative, that it gives girls that sense of power and ownership of their own journey, of their own learning, to have choice there, to pursue their passions, and to really become the creators of their future and contributors to the common good. So the way that looks is, in a classroom being said, told you can do a year-long research project about anything that is relevant to you, and we are going to provide the support and the platform to share those ideas with a broader audience. So again, that's one example, and there are so many of the ways that we give students the reins and we say you get to direct your learning. We talk a lot about voice at Ms. Halls because that's really the first step, is feeling that my voice matters, and again, that I'm going to have a loud place and a microphone to use that voice to express my ideas, have a vision for how to make change. And again, we give them the tools to practice that every single day.
Wow. That's amazing. Let me ask you this, because the messaging that we get as women, as we get out of school or college, you get into a place like Ms. Halls and you get out into the real world and you're like, whoa. But what I would imagine is that because you've been at Ms. Halls, your voice is not silenced. You've taken what you've learned and utilized it for bigger and better things. Here's my question for you. What data do you have, driven data do you have that shows how valuable this is for young women to be a part of a setting like this?
Well, I think we have data right now as we're experiencing this pandemic, the disproportionate effect on women, the disproportionate effect on women who are leaving the workforce because they bear greater burden in their homes, the loss of that incredible intellect and power out of our organizations is really concerning. And I think what that says is that we need schools like Ms. Halls and the colleges you described more than ever, that the mission around advancing women and empowering women is more important now than ever. In terms of data on how it works, I go back to my students who are here every day and the graduates of our school who talk about living and learning in this kind of environment. And it's a global community too, and I think that's important. So a global community of women, so when they go out into the world, they have practiced being strong, vocal, thoughtful, compassionate leaders. They've practiced it here, and now they can go into the world and do that.
So how does one become a student at Miss Hall's?
Great. So you apply, and the best way to learn about Miss Halls is to go to our website, misshalls.org, where you can see stories and videos of our current students, and for an applicant to start to picture themselves here. We've tried to make that process really simple for families, as streamlined as possible. Applying to private school can be really daunting, and particularly the financial aspect. So we have a personalized family tuition program, and all of that's on the website. It's really clear, easy to get the information you need.
Where is Miss Halls located, and at what ages do you start accepting students, and how long are they allowed to stay with you? Is it from 6 to 8? Is it, you know?
Yeah, so we're located in the Berkshires in Western Massachusetts. So about, it's a beautiful place to live and go to school. Pittsfield, Mass is the town where we are, about equidistant from Boston and New York in terms of big cities nearby. And we serve grades 9 through 12, so usually ages 14 to 18. And some students come for 1 year, most stay for all 4 years, because once they've been here, they want to experience that full journey.
Yes. Here's my other question. So WURD is an African-American owned station, and I have always encouraged our listeners to step outside of their comfort zones, right? To open up the box. Miss Hall's, located in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, is a global community. What pieces do you have in place for people who may look like me, who would want to come to Miss Hall's, but are not quite certain that they would fit in? You know, what programming do you have that keeps them, get them acclimated, A, and retain them, B, and so that they can fully enjoy the experience, C?
Yeah. I'm so glad you said acclimated and retain, because part of our job as a school is to create a sense of belonging for students from the moment we get here, and to continue to do that throughout their full time at the school, because students evolve and change, right? Our identities at this school are very diverse. So first of all, it's training for the adults. Every adult at the school is trained in equity and inclusion practices, whether they are
Ms. Heaton, I officially like you. I love it.
For real though, if the adults don't know how to do this, then we're creating a system where students don't feel supported. So it has to start there. The adults at Miss Halls are incredible, caring, and our value of growth applies to them too. So there's a lot of learning there. And then we have a bunch of programs in place for students when they arrive to support their, again, acclimation. So every student has a student advisor. Every student has who's a faculty member, but also a proctor, a student who has been through this process before and probably shares some aspects of identity with that student to support them through. We have affinity groups for students who identify as African American, for students who identify as Asian American, Latinx, LGBTQ, you name it. And those are spaces where students can find, again, belonging, support, and shared experience. So there's a lot, actually. And again, it comes back to, we've said as a commitment that we are going to be an inclusive community, which means changing some of the practices to make sure that it's inclusive for everyone. And we reflect on that a lot as an adult community too.
That's awesome. I if I ever have a granddaughter, I would definitely look at Miss Halls, because I think women's voices are silenced quite often. And when we finally have a space to open up, we don't even know who to trust in those spaces when we finally get the voice, because we've been conditioned to not trust anybody because of all the things that are going on. So this is a boarding school. They come up there, is that okay? Right? And so they stay, how long do they stay throughout the school year?
Right. So it's a boarding and day school. We do have some students who are local, but for the listeners who are here, they would likely be boarding students. So just a little bit about boarding school, because I didn't come from boarding school. I had never been in a boarding school before. And what I've learned that's so powerful is that it's an intentional community, right? We live and learn and eat and do all of our things together. So you get to really build that sense again of inclusion and belonging in a very deliberate way. Students arrive in late August, early September. They stay through the school year. We have a few breaks in there, but it's really a 24/7 life on this campus with adults and students, you know, together in community. Another piece I would say, it's a great way to develop independence, but I really want to make clear, boarding school is not early college.
Right.
So they have incredible support, supervision from adults. This is a caring and safe community for adolescents to really learn how to be young adults. So it's powerful.
Yes. So you've been around since 1898. Now, I have wrote none of these questions down that I'm asking you, but as we talk, I'm loving the conversation.
That's great.
So you've been around since 1898. Who are some of your alum that came out of Miss Halls that we would know?
I wish you knew all of them.
Yes, I know.
So I don't know who you would know, but our alums, we have over 4,000 alums worldwide, 40 different countries, all over the United States. And they are leaders in their fields, which range from medicine to the arts to education, you name it. And I'd say the most powerful piece is not sort of who's famous, but the way those connections are lifelong connections. Graduates of our school are continuing to network and support each other 50 years, 60 years after they graduate. And that's kind of what you become part of when you go to a school like this. It's really powerful relationships.
What is the student population there? How many students are you taking at each? Do you have?
Yep. So this year we have 175 students enrolled. And again, due to the pandemic, some of those students are not able to be on campus right now. They're spread out in their homes. And of those, usually about 2/3 are boarding students resident on campus. But this year's a little different.
Okay. My last question for you is this. Why should we choose Miss Halls? Why? Talk to the parents. Why would you send your child to Miss Halls? We've had a great conversation about what that looks like. But for the parent who was sitting on watching this and saying, my child has always been around me. I wouldn't know what to do. Give them now in 3 or 4 sentences, why Miss Halls? Because I feel like I want to come and I'm too old.
We might have a spot for you. So I'm a parent, and I'm a parent of 3 daughters. And I would say to any parent who's asking this question, not to think about what you might lose or what you might miss out on, but the gift, the incredible transformational gift that you could give to your daughter by going to Miss Halls. Again, the ability to be part of a global community, to be surrounded by adults who believe unconditionally in the power of girls, and a place that's going to lift her up and challenge her and give her opportunities that she couldn't have anywhere else.
Agreed.
So you will miss her, but you'll stay connected, and the change you'll see in your child will be phenomenal.
Yeah, I know at least one young lady who is about 12 now. I can't wait for her to come. I'm going to ask her grandmother to have her apply. She's so phenomenal. And I feel like the regular public school is just not, she doesn't even live in Pennsylvania, but I'll talk to her grandmom about it. Tell people again how they can reach you, please.
So my name is Julia Heaton, and I love talking to parents and students, so you can reach me directly. But we are Miss Halls School. Our website is misshalls.org, and we would love to have you learn more about the school and contact us at any time. And I'll be talking to you about that granddaughter, too.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Julia Heaton, head of school at Miss Halls, who is in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. It's a boarding school just for girls. I am so excited. I call them young ladies because from 14 to 18, they're young ladies at this point. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Source, and thank you for choosing us to have this conversation.
And thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. This has been so much fun, and thank you to everybody.
All right, we'll talk soon. All right,
Bye.
bye-bye. Bye-bye. That was awesome. See, we never know. This is when I tell you about expanding your horizons. You got to expand your horizons and let people know where you are and what you're doing. Ms. Halls is a great space for folks to be. Thank you, Ms. Heaton. It's a pleasure. Talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye. All right, so let me do this. Make sure now we're going to do the next question. This is, my schedule is so crazy today. I'm looking at this thing, just going down the thing. So you heard me talking about a promotion, a radio promotion, a museum of the American Revolution for 2021 Women's History Month promotional ticket giveaway. So we're giving away 20 pairs of tickets for a free visit to the Museum of the American Revolution to celebrate Women's History Month. And so daily winners will be announced. And so we just announced one. Well, now we are at the next question. So the first person to call Michael with this one will win. Women and free Black people legally held the right to vote in which state following the Revolutionary War? Even I knew that. I like that, and I ain't from this country. Women and free Black people legally held the right to vote in which state following the Revolutionary War? If you know the answer to that, please call into Michael 215-634-8065. And the first person that calls in with the correct answer will win a pair of tickets to the Museum of the American Revolution. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. This next few minutes, when I come back off of the break, we can have callers call in so we can talk to you until 3 o'clock. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
You probably heard it before, but one of the best ways to stay safe from COVID is by avoiding crowds. That's better. Also, when you're out in public, make sure you stay 6 feet away from strangers or people you don't live with. It's okay to say, "Can I have some space, please?"
Well, it's going to be a beautiful sunny day today, and we can expect much.
If you're gonna have a get-together with friends and family, have it outside. And remember to keep those 6 feet of social distance. And last but not least, wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth with no gaps. They slow the spread of COVID or new forms of the virus called variants. And make sure you get your vaccine when it's your turn. We're all out here trying our best, and it's making a difference. We just gotta keep it up. We can do this.
To learn more about slowing the spread, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
The Sweet Treat Hut is the highest rated juice bar in Philly, located on the corner of 50th and Thompson Streets, providing delicious, healthy vegan food, juices, and smoothies. Treat yourself to a cup of happiness. Call 215-877-1471.
WURD Radio, in partnership with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, and LabCorp, have teamed up to launch Go to Know, a new public health campaign to reduce colorectal cancer in the Black community. Join Nick Taliaferro on Tuesday, March 30th at 5 p.m. for a special conversation with doctors and a colorectal cancer survivor discussing the latest information on how to prevent, treat, and diagnose colorectal cancer. Most importantly, you'll learn how to make sure you and your family members can stay well and live a long and healthy life. Throughout this program, you can request a free, easy, at-home colorectal cancer screening test called a FIT kit that is designed to provide early detection of colorectal cancer, so you'll want to go to know. Join us for the kickoff of Go to Know, Tuesday, March 30th at 5 p.m. on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I just had on here, and I think this is the first time I have ever interviewed anyone from an all-girls school. Miss Julia Heaton, who is the lead, the head, the principal, the leader of the school. She was wonderful. She talked about this boarding school that you can apply, that they have a great application process to make sure that it's a fair process for all families. You don't have to have a ton of money. They'll give you what you need to move forward. And what I love about this place is that it's just for girls. And so I know some young girls who are exceptional, but their voices are being stifled because no one really gives them an opportunity. They're telling them that girls should be seen and not heard. Lord have mercy. And so they get in, it's from grades 9 to 12, ages 14 to 18 years old, and they've had over 4,000 alums from 40 different countries, and they've been around since 1898. So if you are interested, they're located in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. It means you would have to let your darling daughter go for a school year, and then with some holidays in between. But if you want your child to have a change in scenery and to globally explore life outside of where they live, this is a great space to be, in my humble opinion. Again, this is the time when you can call in, 215-634-8065. I will not have another guest until 3 o'clock. So this is your time. You want to call Tyrone, Woody, everybody. I just got a thing here that says how to tell the difference between real and plastic rice. It's a water test. Take a glass of water, drop a tablespoon of raw rice inside and stir it for some time. And if the rice floats at the top, then it is considered as plastic rice because rice doesn't float underwater. This was written June 7th, 2017. So I gave you the answer to that one, right? All right, so moving right along. Let me see what's in the news today. If no one calls in, I'm trying to manage, so I had to take all my equipment with me. This was so funny, and I had put it all in the backpack to make sure that I could look at all the stuff that I needed to. Let me look at the news and see what's here, because I've not been able to do a lot of this. Let's see, Women's History Month. Women's History Month is almost over. Can you believe it? We've been highlighting a bunch of great women all month long on The Source, so I'm excited about that piece. Let me just see. Let me see. I'm not doing this. Come on, people. Thank you. How growing Black-led companies are handling WFH a year later and the COVID-19 vaccine. Access this content. No, this is. Okay, all right, so see, no, I'm not doing that. Sometimes you open up these articles and they're not leading to anything, and I'm not, so let's see. Let me open this one up and see what this is. WHYY. Black men in Philadelphia are more likely to experience poor mental health after severe injury, a new study shows. This was written by Sojourner Ahabi. Oh, I know who she is. March 27, 2021. Sarah F. Jacoby spent several years working as a trauma nurse in Philadelphia, where she became interested in how the lived environment and experiences of people influence their ability to recover. If you spend time in the trauma centers in Philadelphia, it's not hard to recognize the racialized patterns of who was hurt, said Jacoby, an assistant professor of nursing at the University of Pennsylvania, whose work looks at injuries from public health and urban health perspectives. In a recent study from the Penn School of Nursing, Jacoby, this is my Jamaican accent, Jacoby and co-investigators explored the ways that returning to work after an injury predicts mental health outcomes in Black men living and recovering in Philadelphia. Analyzing data from 498 Black men aged 18 or older living in the city who were admitted to level 1 trauma centers for injuries between January 2013 and June 2017, the study found that Black men who did not return to work after serious traumatic injury had almost 3 times the odds of poor mental health when compared to men who did. Psychological distress in the form of post-traumatic stress disorder and depression was common among the surveyed men and served as one of the key barriers to getting back to work in the first place. The study notes the low-income Black men in particular experience worse mental health outcomes after job loss than their white counterparts. A lot of that has to do with something Jacoby calls structural vulnerability. Black men working in Philadelphia were more likely to have jobs that didn't accommodate changes in physical ability or provide adequate disability relief, and their disproportionate exposure to racism in the workplace and throughout their lifetime in the form of city planning, the education system, and public policy predispose them to poorer physical and mental health outcomes down the line, the study says. And about 1/2 of the Black men in the survey group had been injured intentionally, typically through a violent assault, such as a gunshot wound. At least 111 people have been murdered in the city so far this year, a 29% increase over the same time in 2020, the deadliest year in 3 decades. So how does that play out in the ability for Black men, first of all, to be free from the risk for things like community violence and other forms of injury, and also return to places where they are able to optimize their recovery process to either go home and restore the social and economic roles in the way that they had prior to injury, or reestablish something different, says Jacoby. The decision to study perceptions of racism among this group was intentional. If returning to work is an indicator of healing and positive mental health outcomes for formerly injured people, research investigators wanted to understand how someone's exposure to racism in former workplaces and social life might affect their perceptions of future employment and opportunities. I'm sure we know a bunch of Black men who have gone through this. You know, you get up every day, you go to work, you're trying to figure out how to make it, you're trying to hold on to your manhood, and I say trying because we work so hard, and so we see this hyper masculinity in a lot of our men, and we're trying to figure out, you know, how do we manage that as we move along? It's a lot, right? And we want to support our brothers in what they do and where they come from. And so we want to ask these questions of our men, women in particular, whether you are someone of color or you're a Caucasian woman dating or married to a Black man. It is incredibly difficult, right? We have to know what the signs are. Sometimes they come home from work and they don't want to have a conversation. Sometimes they go and sit in a corner, or they go find a space in the basement to go hang out and not really talk to anyone, because it is very difficult for them. And we're not making excuses, because as sisters, we hold our brothers accountable, almost to a fault sometimes, right? But they're the ones that are, you know, locked up at a more alarming rate for things that other people would not be locked up for, not exposed to the right education. How many times, and I am a mother of brown boys, where I had to fight because Black and brown children, especially boys, are not seen as smart. I have had teachers say to me, well, yeah, your son is getting all A's, but you know, it's a well-known fact that Black children, Black boys don't do as well, and that they have a tendency to be lazy. Said that to me with a whole straight face when I got finished. And so when we start to believe the messaging that is given to us intentionally or unintentionally, then our Black boys become men who struggle like hell, right? When they get into the workforce, they see every slight, everything as every paper cut as a major thing, as they should, because they've spent the entire time from the time they were born and can understand themselves that they're less than. They're being told, the messaging has been, you're not as smart. You're not as smart as the women. And that's why I encourage my sisters, you know, when you are seeking a brother to get into a relationship or be married to, be kind, be patient, be generous. Don't cuss him out and tell him he ain't this and he ain't that. Right? Understand where the stuff is coming from, because what you are seeing is a direct result of the microaggressions and macroaggressions that you didn't get to see before he got into a relationship with you. And to the employers, stop. And when I say I'm going to ask you to be very careful, not just for Black and brown men, just for Black and brown people. We have to be very aware of the biases that we bring to a table, intentionally or unintentionally, that can be very harmful to us. We are right now as a country looking at a trial happening of an ex-police officer. Police officers don't know what to do with themselves. I have Black and brown police officers who are friends of mine, some of whom I am mentoring, who are in a desperate place because they love their job, but they don't love some of the things that are going on around them. Find a space. Don't put everybody in a box and say, well, you all are. Nobody is all anything. And if we don't want to be marginalized as people of color, then we really want to be very careful about marginalizing people and making them feel like they don't fit in a place simply because of where they work and what they do for a living. You can hold people accountable and not destroy them. There is a way to do that, people. And so there's so much going on here, so much happening in our communities. And I suspect that as this trial goes on, you know, I've had some conversations with some friends of mine, white and Black, who said white folks are now starting to believe that, you know, maybe it wasn't such a bad thing after all, because, you know, we tend to, as a community, when something isn't in our faces all the time, when the country was on fire, we saw all the white folks, you know, Black, white, you know, young, old, everybody trying to figure out what they could do to make sure that things were better. We began having conversations with police officers to ask them, you know, what can we do to support you when you see your compadres not doing the right thing? You know, that's a difficult space for them to be in too. We can't just look at either or, it's both and. So so much that we don't see, so much that we see. And because we constantly feel like we're under attack, we can be abrasive in the way we respond, and the slightest thing can set us off. So, which is why I talk a lot about emotional intelligence and making sure that you think through what you say and do before you say and do it. You know, that's not always expedient to just always have your voice heard. I've learned over the years that listening a lot more than speaking makes a whole lot of difference. And it has helped me in the raising of my own 2 children, right? Because they're the ones that are growing up in this country that is not kind to them, that is not giving them a break. And so I spend time as their mother, not only encouraging them to learn and to grow, but I encourage myself to learn and grow from them without judgment. Sometimes it's not so easy, and I have to back myself up and say, listen, you made your own choices when you were growing up, and so you have to allow your children to make some of their own. They're kind, they're generous, they're inspirational, they're leaders, and they're doing what they need to do. Find the good things in your children, encourage them. You know, make them feel valued, because the world is not going to do it for you. And also, while I'm at it, give them spaces to learn about their culture, such that it is. We may not all be able to get on a plane and go to Ghana. I've not been to the continent yet, but believe me, one day I'll go. But, you know, if you're not able to go to the continent, open up YouTube and Google, you know, play some games around what does that look like. Stop taking people's advice around what the continent is and what the countries in the continent of Africa are all about. And they're not all mud huts, and like learn about our history, share it with your children, because that's the stuff that runs through their veins. In my house, there is Harriet Tubman and Nanny of the Maroons sitting on my kitchen wall. And those 2 women inspire me every day to get up, and not just to get up and have a regular day, but to get up and make an impact beyond myself. And that's where we are with all of this. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. Woohoo! 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
The Black Words Book Club. WURD Radio's new monthly conversation on books that explore the African American experience through social, economic, and environmental justice issues. Tune in the second Tuesday of every month on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. For April, WURD Radio is partnering with the Free Library of Philadelphia and showcasing their pick for its annual citywide reading program, One Book, One Philadelphia, entitled The Tradition by Jericho Brown. Be sure to listen live, as Nick Taliaferro will hold a contest for a giveaway book bundle that consists of 4 titles from Kensington's Defina's Authors of Color's newest release. Don't miss it. Tuesday, April 13th on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Attention for WURD members. Get your copy and receive a 20% discount when you purchase at Harriet's Bookstore or Hakeem's Bookstore. For more information on the Black Words Book Club, visit WURDradio.com. The Black Words Book Club is sponsored by Defina. Defina is an imprint of Kensington Publishing Corporation, America's independent publisher, concentrating on authors of color.
Hey, WURD family, Reverend Leroy with a boss good recommendation for Clark Roofing. I found them to be a solid business, honest, dependable, fast, and clean workers. Mr. Clark stands by his work. Call him at 215-365-7663.
Call Clark Roofing and ask for a second-generation master roofer, Calvin Clark. Clark Roofing professionally installs a variety of roofing systems for your home or businesses. Call Clark Roofing at 215-365-7663 or visit their website
at clarkroofingpa.com. Want the latest in WURD swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Situated in the gorgeous hills of western Massachusetts, Miss Halls is a boarding school for today, where girls in grades 9 through 12 live alongside a diverse community of new friends from around the world, where learning is immersive and students are supported by friends and mentors 24/7, where they hold all the leadership positions, where they develop autonomy and determine their own path. Your daughter will never feel more supported or more energized than she will at Miss Halls.
As soon as I walked in the door, it was just this instant, I just felt like home.
Learn how affordable Miss Halls is at misshalls.org/WURD.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, we've had a litany of guests today. And not to be outdone, I have the students from Bringing Everybody Together coming on. I do that once a month with them, with their program director, Mr. Washington. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation. They want to talk. There's Brandon. They're coming up now. They want to talk about the violence in the city, and they want to talk about, this trial that's happening right now. So I'm super stoked to have the dialogue. Thank you, Brandon. Now, you already know you're talking to mother, so put your camera on so that I can see you, sir. All right. This just into 6ABC, from 6ABC. Man fatally shot while filming a video on Philly's gun violence problem. Philadelphia police are trying to figure out who shot and killed a man while he was working on a video about the city's gun violence. Hi, Brandon, my little CEO. It happened around 8 p.m. Monday on the 1900 block of West Page Street in Strawberry Mansion. This 55-year-old male was working for a production company. They were inside of a private residence. They were interviewing and filming some family members whose children were victims of gun violence in the last 2 to 3 years, Philadelphia Police Chief Inspector Scott Small said. The victim has been identified as Anthony Marriott from the 2100 block of North Marston Street. Action News is told the anti-violence video was being made to stream on Netflix. Marriott had exited the home to get more equipment from his van when he was shot multiple times, authorities said. He was taken to the hospital by police where he was pronounced dead. The bag with the production equipment was found on the sidewalk along with 2 cell phones, police said. The motive is under investigation. So much going on in this city. Makes me nuts. Makes me nuts. Hi, Brandon. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
You look a little bit more grown since last month. What's going on? So I hear you guys want to talk about the violence in the city. Did you hear me just talking about the fact that someone was doing a film on it and was shot and killed on Monday? That was what? Today's what, Tuesday? Yeah, so much going on. Hi, Nadir. How are you? There's got his microphone. Hello. You're good, and I love yours. So you have that gaming headphones. I see it. I'm using one too. You sounds clear as a bell. Get a gaming headphone, my Brandon. While I'm waiting for the others from Bringing Everybody Together to come on the air, I must say thank you to my husband. I could have literally flown to see my parents and not worked, but I have a commitment with WURD Radio to be consistent with them and around with the programming. So I thought I would fly in and do the thing. My husband packed up all my equipment. I had my Ethernet cable. I had a new headset just so I could come through loud and clearly for all of you, my laptop, my iPad, all of it, and so I was able to come and set up my equipment without missing a hitch because, of course, the people who were supposed to come and set up the new internet service didn't show up. So I was able to plug in the Ethernet cable and make it work. And this is what I'm telling you guys, you young folks. I said, try to always be prepared. I was prepared for plan A, B, C, D, and E. You understand? The biggest plan I had was if it ultimately failed, we would go to a best of show. But the plan behind that was if this failed, I would go in my car, turn on the air conditioning, and run the show live from my cell phone. See? But we figured it out. We made it work. Mr. Richard Washington, how are you, sir? Unmute and let
I am wonderful. How about yourself?
I am doing well, sir. Where's your picture? I can't see you.
It's coming up there.
It's got There you are.
I was waiting. I guess it's since it's spring break, I think my computer is taking some time to regenerate.
Yeah. Your computer took a break. Where are the other students? Are they coming on?
We have 2 of them that went to their parents, and I think one's on vacation.
One's on vacation. So it's just these two today.
Well, your favorite should be jumping on. Well, I know they're all your favorite.
They're all my favorite. I love these young people.
Nevin is supposed to be jumping on. So
all right now. All right. So let me introduce you to those who may not know who you are, because I never want to make the assumption that everybody knows. But these young people are a group that I have been talking to every month, and they're just wonderful. So let me introduce them to you. So let's see. So Devin is coming on. Ayana's not coming on. Kyle's not coming on.
Correct.
Shyla?
Nope.
So Nadir is going to be on?
Yes, Nadir is actually on already.
I see Nadir and I see Brandon, right?
You got it.
So who else am I missing?
Nevin.
Okay. All right. Nevin. Okay. Bringing everybody together is a monthly youth group. They want to talk about violence in the city. Richard Washington, who is their founder and leader extraordinaire, was born and raised in Philadelphia. He has dedicated himself to building lives by sharing his gift of motivating, teaching, and empowering others to be their very best. He is the founder of a youth and family organization called Bringing Everybody Together and the CEO of Training for All LLC, which is a company that many schools, businesses, community-based organizations, churches, and more call on him to impact positive change and organizational development. Let me just tell you who the 2 young people here that are on here. Brandon McDonald. Brandon. I keep thinking Brandon is 18. Brandon is a 13-year-old young man who attends Amy Northwest Middle School. He is currently the BET Youth Council president and host of BET Talks, which is a weekly community show. Brandon enjoys singing and making a difference. And then I have on here Nadir. Nadir Mapp, 14 years old, 8th grade at Independence Charter School, and will be attending George Washington Carver High School for Engineering and Science. You better go on, Nadir, member of the Bringing Together Everybody Together Council. All right, so good afternoon to all of you. I'm still missing, who am I missing now?
Nevin.
There he is.
Oh, no.
And always showing up a day late and $1 short.
Right, and as he gets...
Nevin, turn on your camera, sir. You and I go through this every time. And he's rustling around. Come on, Nevin. This is live radio, sir. Let's go.
We're gonna get him.
You wait. And wait, he's gonna be sad when he runs into me in person, because I'm coming to meet all of you in person when COVID comes out. And Nevin, I'm coming for you first. All right, mute yourself. So let me talk to you all a little bit. So Brandon, Nevin, mute yourself. Okay, thank you, darling. And open up your camera, Nevin, when you have a minute. So Brandon, there's been a lot happening in the city. We're now at over 111 people dead, a 29% increase. And as far as we can see, it's mostly young people. Yesterday, I interviewed Hania Sharp Brown, who was one of the parents whose son was a friend of Harley Balance, the 11-year-old child that was riding his bicycle when he was shot and killed over the weekend. Nice young man, everybody really loved him. And the impact on the community is one that people are not quite sure what to do at this point. The week before that, Brandon, I interviewed the mother and grandfather of another young man, 15 years old. I wrote an article about him, Antonio Walker Jr., who was minding his business and he was shot and killed, right? He was at the basketball court playing. Nevin, nice of you to join us in these Wakandan streets. How are you? Oh, well, your internet connection is a little spotty. So, all right, mute yourself and then we'll figure that piece out. So, Brandon, talk to me. In your estimation, what is going on and what can we do at bringing everybody together to solve some of this, if that's even possible?
Well, Mr. Drew, it is getting bad. It really is. Like you said, there's been a 31% increase. And by this time last year, there was a little more, there was maybe a little less than 90 deaths at this time. There's over 100 now, and it's getting very bad. It seems like it gets higher and higher every year.
Yeah.
And, especially for, young people like me, it gets extremely difficult to try to evade this lifestyle that's starting to, arise, and it's kind of difficult to avoid it now.
Yeah. What is this lifestyle that you speak of? Explain it to myself and for us on Word Radio. What is this lifestyle? Because you all are young and you understand things, and you speak in a code that we just let's just be frank, we don't get it, right? So what is this lifestyle that you're speaking of?
It's become good to be bad. And it's difficult to, especially when you're raised in this, is you're always going to be a product of your environment.
Mm-hmm.
So to be raised in this type of situation is difficult. To try to be that gem in the rough, it's difficult, especially when everything is against you and everything's pulling you back down. It's hard to try to evade it.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to just become it.
Yeah. So here's my next question for you. If it's become good to be bad, who is encouraging young people to become bad? Is this like an initiation into something? Is it happening over the internet? Is it, in person? What's happening there? Because there are parents who are listening who want to know why these things are happening.
It's just the adults. We're influenced by what we watch by our elders. We see what people used to do, and we want to be more than that. And sometimes that could be worse. Sometimes it could be better. Yeah. And, now all we see is the bad. We have COVID. Mm-hmm. We have, like you said, the deaths are rising. Mm-hmm. And we see that. So what else is left but, for it to become worse? Mm-hmm. Because now, if we have adults that, don't raise our kids right, and, and don't have the vision for us that their parents had for them, then it's hard to become better than that.
Yeah. Wow. This is why I love talking to y'all. Nadir, what would you like to add to this, young man?
I just want to say that it is becoming a much bigger problem as time goes on, because I feel like now the more it happens, the more people are getting that mentality of, oh, well, maybe I need to be street to survive, or I need to be street to even live a good life. So that's why they're doing what they're doing.
So when you say I need to be street to live a good life, or I need to be street to survive, what does that mean?
Like being a thug, basically.
Being a sellout. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Speak English to mother. I'm old. So what does being a sellout mean in your language for you?
It means ruining your life for bad, because you're making bad decisions.
Yes.
Or choosing the wrong way.
And do any of you have friends that you see going down this pathway? Can you pinpoint? Don't give us any names, but do you have people around you in your community that you see going down this pathway? Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. And so how do you stay away from it, Brandon and Nadir and Nevin? Devin, hold on 1 second. Y'all mute yourselves. Nevin, unmute yourself. Talk to mother for a second. Yeah, you looking like you're not all the way with me. Did you just wake up, sir? Nevin? I can't hear him. I can't hear you, Nevin. There's no sound. Say that again. Nevin?
You have to restart your computer.
Yes. Yeah. Restart your computer and come back, because we can't hear you, okay?
Okay.
Oh, wait, I can hear you now. I just heard you. I just heard you. So what has this been like for you? Do you know people that are around you that are going down a bad path? And how do you stay away from it?
Not anyone I know of is in a bad path. Like, my family tries their best to steer me away from it. And, basically, they just keep me from going to certain places, keep me in a safe environment.
But Nevin, let me ask you this. If they're keeping you from going to certain places, what does that mean? Because you can be in front of your house, you can be inside your house, you can be at the playground. So what are the certain spaces that they keep you from going to?
Like Germantown, or like anywhere where, like, I guess it wouldn't be safe for like the entire time or the entire day or something.
Right.
Like, unless I'm going with friends, I can't go. So.
Unless you're going with friends, you can't go. You're what, 14 now, Nevin?
Yeah.
Yes. And so unless you're going with friends that your parents trust and know, you can't go. What is that like for you? Or do you appreciate what your parents are doing?
Yeah. It makes me feel safer.
Yeah, it makes you feel safer. Okay. All right. Mute yourself and hold on. Nadir, let me ask you this, and I have to keep track of the time because I love talking to you all so much I can forget. Time gets away from me. You live in a city where the violence is increasing, right? We all live in the city where the violence is increasing. You want to be a typical teenager. What does that look like for you now? Do you feel fear when you think about wanting to go out and do certain things in the streets with your friends?
No, now I feel like it's more so for me. Now, mostly everything I do, I have an adult with me. Like, whether it's like going to the mall or going to play basketball or anything to do with going outside. I don't ever go by myself.
So anything that has to do with going outside, you don't ever go by yourself. Do you find this to be normal living?
Yeah, for some stuff. But like for certain things, I feel like now it's necessary to not go by yourself.
Yeah. Mr. Washington, I don't know if they recognize yet the impact that this is having on them. When you and I were growing up as children, we were out on the streets playing. Well, I wasn't. My parents were like, let me quantify that. We had a little bit more freedom. I was told to stay in the house, and with my friends, and we could only go two doors up and 2 doors down. Like, we were not allowed to run up and down all over the place. And at a certain point, because we were girls, we had to be home. But you growing up, sir, maybe that was a little different from you. You could play out until the street light came on. You hung out with your friends. You didn't fear having this kind of violence. Are you concerned about what this level of violence are doing for the young children like these three who are doing everything that they can only to be faced with, you can't go out unless you're with this one or that one?
Absolutely. And I don't know if you and I are related, but I grew up the same way you did. My grandmother was related to your parents, or who knows. But I was certainly limited as well. And by the time I became 13, 14, the reins were let loose a little bit, but literally just a little bit. I mean, when Mom said, when the street lights come on, you better be in the house. If I wasn't in the house within 5 minutes of those street lights coming
situation,
I was in trouble. And not only, even if my mother, if I didn't know what time it was, my neighbors knew what time it was.
There you go.
Everybody had to clear the streets. Everybody had similar values, and the extended family was so important. And even if I look at the three young men that you're talking to today, what's different, and I'm glad they know what's going on, but all three of them have parents who are very involved. And so that makes a tremendous difference. Like I was saying to Nevin and Nadir, if I was definitely restricted, and if I went more than 2-3 blocks, we didn't have a cell phone like that.
That's right. But you could sense the energy, the kinetic energy, like grandma about to look for me. Didn't even have a watch on. You just couldn't tell by the sun up in the sky that it's time for you to get your happy tail back home. And then the neighbor would tell on you. I know you're not supposed to be around here this time of the day. So someone on Facebook wrote this. And I want you all to answer this for me. Marcus said this: these kids seem to be really opposite of the ones that are committing crime. I would like to hear from youth in placements at the juvenile justice system. That's the core of youth that can give more insight on this value. The problem with the children in the juvenile justice system is they can't speak to us. They cannot. And oftentimes when they finally come out of placement, they're so traumatized they don't want to be on the radio having this discussion. Do any of you know of any young person that was in juvenile adjudicated in juvenile placement? Any of you?
Well, I know me personally, I know people that, are on that path, ended up in there. I know people that I can say, yeah, I have known people that's ended up in juvenile detention. And to answer like his question, like we grow up in the same places as those same people. We go through the same experiences as those people. It's just the differences and the mindsets that we're in is what keeps us from going astray. The programs that we have to keep us focused is what keeps us from going astray. It's places like BET or opportunities that I have right now that keep me from doing the things that get me in those places. It's not just about what you're at now, it's what gets you there.
So Marcus says, former students in the juvenile placements, they are in our schools. They return to our school systems. I've worked with them. So send them my way, Marcus. If you want me to interview them, if they're willing and their parents give you permission, let's have a conversation with them. Do you agree or disagree that parents are not able to speak to their children the way they did, that parents are afraid of their children, quote unquote, air quotes?
Yes.
Give me a solid example why.
You know, I personally, I do think so, because now it's like back then kids were like you said, when you were growing up, that I would like to say that you would have a lot more respect for your adults. Now there's not a whole lot of respect. There's no boundaries anymore because a lot of the adults act childish, to be honest with you. So it's not a whole lot of boundaries to, you know, there's nothing to keep that level of respect.
Yeah.
To keep like any there's nothing off limits. There's no such thing as disrespecting an adult anymore to them. You know?
Wow. I'm going to take a quick break and come back so we can continue this discussion. Hold on one second, all right? You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Temple University, Philadelphia's public university, was founded on the principle that access to education is a right for everyone. As part of our commitment to inclusive excellence and equity in education, we have invested more than $1 million in anti-racism programming. Our goal is for everyone to feel empowered to be themselves, be open to new experiences, and be a part of solutions to societal challenges. We're proud to provide a supportive and welcoming environment for everyone in the Temple community.
COVID vaccines are here, and Black physicians and scientists help to develop them. So I feel good about getting the vaccine. And with new forms of the virus now spreading, I know we need to keep up everything we're already doing. Masking up, keeping that 6-foot distance, and avoiding crowds. COVID's been doubly tough on us, so let's double down to take it down. We can do this. Learn more about getting the vaccine and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Thinking about retirement? Make sure a My Social Security account is a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
This Women's History Month, WURD Radio is proud to celebrate Black women innovators and trailblazers who have helped us all level up.
Welcome to Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. Get into this episode where we explore the art and artistry of Academy Award-winning costume designer Ruth E. Carter. Her film credits span 30 years and over 40 films, including some of the most iconic in the Black film cultural lexicon. Peep this list. School Days, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, House Party 2, Jungle Fever, The 5 Heartbeats, Malcolm X, What's Love Got to Do with It, Crooklyn, Baps, Rosewood, Armistead, Love and Basketball, Shaft, Bamboozled, Baby Boy, Sparkle, The Butler, Selma, Black Panther, So that's it for this episode of Black Artist Story 365. My name is Envy McKee. See you next episode.
This Women's History Month vignette was brought to you by Bank of America and New Voices for Reproductive Justice, Women of Color Herstory. You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I have on the line with me my monthly segment with the founder and the students from BET, bringing everybody together. We have Brandon, Nevin, Nadir, and Mr. Richard Washington, and we're talking about today, we're addressing the violence in the city of Philadelphia. Before we went to break, Brandon said something about the fact that the parents themselves are so immature that it's hard to even figure out who's the parent and who's the child anymore. And as he said it, it brought to mind something to me. So last night, y'all, I got on a flight from Philadelphia to come and see my parents. And when we got off the flight, this woman was there with her 4 grandchildren. And she was cussing at the man over the luggage, and the granddaughter, who was about 13 or 14, says, "Grandmom, he has to follow protocols. I don't give a this about," and she just cussing and carrying on. And we're all turning around and looking at her like, "Look, sis, it's 11 o'clock at night. We're all tired, but this is not, you decide to come out here and get on a flight, you know?" And I'm wondering if these are some of kinds of the things that you're seeing where adults are not carrying themselves. They're not comporting themselves in a manner that to learn how to emotionally, intelligently answer and respond to things versus started hollering and screaming and carrying on. Mr. Washington, to what do you attribute what you're seeing happening in the community as we're talking to him? Oh, by the way, Nevin is fine, by the way. We asked him on the break. He said he's just a little tired. So you see him roaming and twisting and turning. He's okay. I feel your pain, Nevin, because I'm a little tired too. But Mr. Washington, to what do you attribute what's happening in the city right now?
You know, there are so many factors, but, you know, one I will certainly say, you know, begins at home. We hear that phrase all the time, you know, what really begins at home. And it's tough. And this is not a judgmental statement because we don't know anyone's situation. You know, a lot of our young people are growing up, you know, with parents who've gone through the system, who may not be educated, because even in our education system, it still saddens me that the fact the student can be in an honor roll and barely know how to spell their name. Like, we're failing them.
Wait. You just said a mouthful. Students in the honor roll and barely know how to spell their name. So how did they end up in the honor roll? Somebody tell me this, please.
Well, you know,
not to make sense.
Well, in part, sometimes if you're well behaved, and it especially depending on what school.
Well behaved lands you on the honor roll, Mr. Washington. That's criminal.
It is. I mean, it's sad to say, and I work in the education system, but you know, I call it as it is. You know, even with some of our BET students, and I'll go back to answering your question, but I just give this one example. I had an 8th grader once who came to me because they know if they bring me an honorable report card, I'm going to celebrate them. And this is in 8th grade. And I said, okay, congratulations. But I knew the kid. And I said, wow, he's on the honor roll? So I asked him a simple question. I said, what's 3 times 4? He couldn't give it to me. I said, what's a noun? He couldn't give it to me. I said, spell Philadelphia or spell Thursday.
Right.
And I told him, I said, you know, the issue is not you. I said, you're there. In this particular school that he attended, I know there were some issues. I said, honestly, you're there every day. You're attending and you're doing the best you can. But we are failing you. I said, so I am still going to take care of you because you want an honor roll. But I challenge you to challenge yourself to do better. And he agreed. And so we actually spent some time working on his academics so that he could be a little more confident. So it's sad, but that also goes back to answer your question that things are so different. You know, even I worked in the alternative education program, so I've dealt with a lot of young people and still do who are in placements. And when you learn that, you know, if you have respect for adults, you can get a lot further. You know, students who struggle, you know, those are the ones we highlight. Those are the ones we spend money on. There's a lot of money, you know, working with at-risk youth, children who are doing the wrong thing. But I think we need to spend more time highlighting the positive, because if we go in that direction, then students will want to do better because they'll receive a little bit more. But if you're doing the wrong thing and your grades are bad, but you're still getting a PS5, you're still getting your birthday gifts, you're still able to hang outside till 11 o'clock at night, you are not teaching our young people that you have to respect the community, that you have to respect your parents, that you have to respect the rules. So it goes back to respecting the foundation. And if you say something, go by it. If you tell a child to come in at a certain time and they don't, well, why are they back out the next day? If you tell a child that you're not going to get your birthday gift or your Christmas gift, and you know, if your grades are bad, but they still get it,
Mm-hmm.
And that's teaching our young people that they can get what they want
Mm-hmm.
and still not do what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Agreed. This is so funny because it brings me back to my own two children who thought I was the worst mother this side of creation, right? Same thing but the problem with, I think, some of our adults is that when the child is on punishment, they feel like they're on punishment too. And so they allow the child to get away with it. And I was cool with being on punishment with them. If I say don't watch your television, I'm unplugging the sucker and I'm taking it out the room. They don't need to unplug it and walk away or go somewhere and go hang out while I know you're going to plug the television back in and turn it on. So when we're choosing things to punish our children with, make sure that we follow through and not just talk that dead air, because you're absolutely right. They talk about it, not be about it, and then it's a problem. The other thing that I saw, though, as my children were growing up, there were some students who didn't have the family structure in place, wanted it so badly, and would find our home and say, can we come in? Can I come and spend time at your house? I like what's happening at your house. You seem to have structure here. They didn't say it that way, but they were like, can I come? And I'd say, well, if you want to come, you got to do your homework. You got to do X, Y, and Z. And they fell right in line. When children see that people care about them, they will do their best to do better, right? But I remember this one particular young man, a principal, pulled me aside and says, you don't want your child hanging out with this young man because he's had X amount of detentions. And I said, but you wrote him off, and I find him to be a really nice young man. He ended up becoming a school psychologist. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we judge too much and don't give enough opportunities. Children are making mistakes. None of us got to this place where we arrived and didn't make a mistake in our lives, right? And so instead of pretending like we didn't make mistakes, we want to learn from the students and figure out how we can support them. Here is the question that is being asked of all of you, and I want to, Kimberly asked this. Gene Smith asked this, Lord. And Marcus also said, we can't forget about the drug epidemic that set our communities into disarray. Today's youth are a residue from that era. They have grandparents that are now recovering from that. Their parents also missed the boat on raising them properly. We are talking a generational gap. He's absolutely right. Therein is the disconnect. My era can connect with them because we've seen the coming and aftermath of how the community fell hard to substance abuse, crack in general. The lasting effects is still troubling in our communities. Trauma is another issue. A lot of these kids have experienced deep trauma, whether personal or by association. Our babies need deep healing. Amen and high five, Marcus Godfrey. Beautiful. Well said. Gene Smith says, good afternoon, Andrea, your producer and your awesome guest. Andrea, can you ask the young men if the lyrics, a heavy promotion of violence and vulgar language in music are a part of the problem? Do you find that to be a part of the problem? The lyrics in music, or are we just blaming music?
Well, I think that any kind of media can be a problem. Mm-hmm. But I also think that part of the music is just a way to kind of relieve that anger. You know, mm-hmm. If you pay attention, it's not just so much, giving, spreading the hate, but so mm-hmm. much a connection to what other people are going through. Now, don't get me wrong. There are if you really pay attention to the lyrics, that is some people are living by that, and that is part of the problem. And there should be more positive things in media. It should be, but also it also is a way for an artist when they're actually their main intention is just to make music, because right. There are sometimes underlying messages inside of that music mm-hmm. that are trying to get people involved into their either their gangs or mm-hmm. Criminal activity. There mm-hmm. is music like that. They sometimes even gangs will do that on purpose just to get some association and some recognition. Mm-hmm. But also, if an artist that is just coming free and just even just telling a story through their music and it is right. violent, mm-hmm. That's not always so much the problem.
Right. Okay. Nadir, I see you've wanted to talk for a while now. Let me just let you get it all out. What's up, man?
I was going to say that I don't think it's part of the problem mm-hmm. because like Brandon said, listening to that kind of music or rapping the lyrics to a song like that mm-hmm. is a way to relieve stress mm-hmm. or anything mm-hmm. or whatever's going on. So mm-hmm. I don't think the music is part of the problem, mm-hmm. but I think that the word choice and some of the things that are talked about, mm-hmm. it's people store that in the back of their head.
Right.
It's I need to act this way because that's how he's acting or something like that.
Woody is on. Woody, how are you, sir?
Wow, I didn't want to be a bad boy. You made me sound like a bad boy. Ooh, what are you? But anyway, I'm happy to hear from you, even though I can't express everything and all the love I have for you, for all that you do, trying to make sure people come on. But again, as an immigrant, you are an immigrant. I'm a non-immigrant. I continue to say over and over, we need an office for non-immigrants, children of former chattel slaves. They could understand and see. That's why I appreciate you bringing the young people on and having the program about this issue. All these shootings go right back, and I say it over and over again, to the lack of elementary education, not being able to read, write, spell, or count. 25%, that's just a measurement here in Philadelphia, are illiterate. And I continue to say this because it's probably more than that.
Yeah.
You see, that's only the report. Now, as I shared with you, being proud of something. I told you about Barrett Junior High School, and I shared with you Dr. King spoke there. I will never forget that as long as I live. Kids need more of that kind of stuff, but gentrification is wiping it out. We have no history to share with our children.
Yeah.
How can they give you respect for anything? You can go back to Jamaica and have all kinds of history of your past.
Yep.
And it's kept there to make you feel good and make you proud. This gentrification is wiping out our pride. So if we have nothing else, we need an office to remind us of all the heroes that lived in these neighborhoods.
So,
North, South,
Woody,
as
let me
well
ask.
as West.
Let me ask you this, Woody, because persistence is key, right?
Yes.
So let's just say you don't get this office through Mayor Kenny. Will you continue to ask for this office? And when you get this office, what are we doing with it?
Well, that's what I'm going to sit down with my mother and talk about.
Are you talking about me?
I'm talking about you. Because you have a worldview. See, you're the fly on the wall. You can see around that circle because you've dealt with all sides. And that's what we need more of. We need more cultural groups. Whenever we do things, the Asians, you see blacks out there for them, but are they coming in for us? So you see Italians or other groups that come in and sit down and for the black groups. We have to realize we're one human race in this society. Once we understand that, we will understand how to help one another, because you can't have world peace without the world involved.
Right.
Every culture has to be involved.
Right. Thank you so much, Woody. I appreciate it. It's good to hear from you, man.
Good hearing from you, and don't make it the last one, because you know who loves you, baby, okay? All right, bye-bye.
Bye, Woody. Bye-bye. So listen, Mr. Woody made a great point. Education, Mr. Washington, we've been talking about this over and again, that children, you said it, on the honor roll, but can't spell, can't do 3 times 4. Are you finding that your peers are struggling in school? And to what do you attribute that issue? Devin, I'm asking you this question. Are your peers struggling in school around you? And how are you working around that?
I kind of agree with the struggling with the school stuff, because in my high school, we're not necessarily getting the lessons that we need in order to progress academically, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty much just behave or whatever, don't be disrespectful, and you can be on honor and stuff. But we're not really learning, like I said, we're not really learning the stuff that we need to. It's like copy and paste. So
copy and paste. My God. So what options do we have for our young people? Are they getting shown advanced placement and honors courses? What are they learning, Mr. Washington? Because if Devin is saying it's like copy and paste, that's a problem.
It is, and it makes you wonder, how much of it's because we blame the pandemic for everything. This is a pre-pandemic problem.
Yes.
It's just escalated pretty much because there's a lot of work what kids have to do on their own, and if they don't know it, they will. They'll copy it, get a grade. So that certainly doesn't help. Even with BET, we have a daily tutoring program. It's virtual. Students can come on, and if they say they don't have homework, and when I tell you, we have them learn the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 timetables. We're having them, learn the days of the week all over again, and they're like, well, I thought I knew this stuff. So yes, it certainly is an issue, and so I'm glad that Nevin even brought it up in terms of even in high school.
Yes.
And Woody said it as well. You know, it is an academic thing. And going back to the other question that was asked, if you don't mind, like having students come on the show, I have some students who I probably could get on here who've been in placement, etc. There are some, though, who definitely don't want to be on camera.
Right.
Some don't want their names.
Yeah.
And primarily it's because they're not sure if they want to stay out of trouble yet.
Right. Wow.
And so they're afraid to put their name out there because we've had conversations saying, look, the only reason why you may be afraid, and you let me know, is you don't want people to have the information in case you get in trouble. But those who have decided to make change, they want people to know, hey, I'm different. You can have my name. I'll tell you the story because I'm going to make a difference and I'm going to do better in school.
Yeah. What do you think, and anybody can answer this, what do you think are some of the solutions to this violence in the city of Philadelphia? Nadir, I'm going to start with you. Give me one solution that you think, as a young person, we need for the violence in the city. Nadir?
Can you ask that again?
So give me one solution from your head around the violence in the city. What can we do differently to shift the violence in the city to make things better?
One thing we could do is spread the word about these programs that are keeping people off the street, or if they have people in the street, they're doing work to help the community. And more ways is to just spread a peaceful mindset and positive energy.
Spread a peaceful mindset and positive energy. It's kind of hard, but okay. And I get where you're going with this. But that would come down to the kinds of people that you're around, and then that would come down to the programs that you get yourself involved in. So that's good. I love that. I absolutely love that. Nevin, what's one thing you think we could do? What's the one solution you think we should have?
I think we should not make it bigger, but I think that we should explain our story, tell our story to more people, city council involved. I don't know. I feel like they would make a big impact because they could help.
So you think city council, if more students show up to city council and start to talk about the things that are happening, for instance, like you're not being challenged in school, we're having this conversation about buildings and making sure that we have enough stuff for COVID relief. But you're right, Mr. Washington, this has been going on. The lack of structural education for our Black and brown babies have been going on long before COVID happened, right? It's just exacerbated it. So if someone like Nevin can go and testify before city council and say, I'm in high school, right? I'm not being challenged to learn anything. Who do we hold responsible? Because people just tend to keep pushing the ball along. Not my fault. It's not my fault. Everybody's pointing fingers. So I agree with him on that. But we want to have leaders that would actually listen and then do something about it. That's the difference, right? Yeah. Okay. Brandon, what's one solution that you see?
Well, if I'm being real, the solution is just getting the bad influence out the way. It's getting the bad influencers out the way. And then we have to because nobody's just going to, lunge for change. Our brains automatically want to go down the easiest path. So we're not just going to want to change. People that are like that, they're not just going to want to completely change their life around and flip their world upside down. They're not going to want to do that. Right. We got to push for change. We got to shove it down their throats. We got to have them see that there's another way and force them to see that it's another way. Yes. It's a better way. That is a safer way. That you don't have to be this way. That you can be able to, grow up. You don't have to live by the gun. You don't have to live this way. You can live a better life. Wow. And until we can get people a chance to see that, there's not going to be a whole lot of change.
Yeah, hold on. I have to take a quick break. And Mr. Washington, you'll be the last the voice we hear. Hold on one second, okay? I want to get finished doing this this is so good. And we're coming to the end of the show, and I just feel like let me ask this last question for the trivia question. And this is, Who was the woman who ran away from George, and maybe you guys can answer this too. Who was the woman who ran away from George and Martha Washington's Philadelphia household to escape enslavement? This happened right here in Philadelphia. Who was the woman who ran away from George and Martha Washington's Philadelphia household to escape enslavement? Please call 215-634-8065. The first person that called in will win a pair of free tickets to the Museum of the American Revolution. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
At Bank of America, we believe in the power of collaboration to create jobs and fuel economic opportunity. That's why we're working with local organizations to help people get the skills they need and build a growing pipeline of talent.
I'm Jim Diver, Bank of America Greater Philadelphia Market President. Our partnership with Philadelphia Youth Network is just one way we're taking action to help more members of our community. What would you like the power to do?
Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, Equal Credit Opportunity Lender.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
WURD Radio, in partnership with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, Independence Blue Cross Foundation, Penn Medicine, and LabCorp, have teamed up to launch Go to Know, a new public health campaign to reduce colorectal cancer in the Black community. Join Nick Taliaferro on Tuesday, March 30th at 5 p.m. for a special conversation with doctors and a colorectal cancer survivor discussing the latest information on how to prevent, treat, and diagnose colorectal cancer. Most importantly, you'll learn how to make sure you and your family members can stay well and live a long and healthy life. Throughout this program, you can request a free, easy, at-home colorectal cancer screening test called a FIT kit that is designed to provide early detection of colorectal cancer, so you'll want to go to know. Join us for the kickoff of Go to Know, Tuesday, March 30th at 5 p.m. on Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. WURD Radio celebrates Women's History Month with the 2021 Level Up Contest. This year, we're highlighting Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. A big thanks to all of our nominees for joining us on this journey. We had an overwhelming response with almost 100 nominations. Tune in to Save Space with Sincerely Sarita on March 31st at 7 p.m. for a live on-air Level Up pitch party, where the 10 Philly finalists will compete to win a marketing package valued at over $5,000. Level Up is a joint production of WURD Radio in Philadelphia, WVON in Chicago, and KJLH in Los Angeles. 3 Black-owned radio stations who are joining forces to spotlight Black women-owned businesses in Philly, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Don't forget, join us March 31st at 7 p.m. for the 2021 Level Up Pitch Party, hosted by Sincerely Sarita, where local Black women entrepreneurs will pitch their businesses to a panel of judges. Visit WURDradio.com and click on the Level Up banner for more information. The 2021 Level Up contest is sponsored by Comcast, Bank of America, Pico, Keystone First, and Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. This is the final segment where I am talking to some students from Bringing Everybody Together. Brandon, Nevin, whose head is the only thing I can see right now, Nadir, and Mr. Washington. Mr. Washington, you get the final word here around a solution that you think would stop the violence or stave the violence in this city of Philadelphia.
Sure. Well, one thing which I always have to give honor to is, from a spiritual standpoint, Christ first, prayer. And I think, we do have a great number of people who claim some sort of spiritual, leadership. So if you're a Christian and you claim it, do the best you can to do what God says. If you're Islamic, if you read the Quran and things like that, if we do those things, if you're Buddhist, if we we go on to what we say we believe, we'll do better. The second thing is I have to take it from, and I wish I could share the clip. About 2 weeks ago, there was a reverend who was on a corner after a violent episode.
Right.
And as he was speaking, the clip ended, and I know most people didn't catch it, but there was a young man, and when I tell you they cut that clip immediately, I was like, oh, wow, I wish somebody answered that question. Young man said, okay, y'all out here today, but in order to help, you got to be out here every day.
Come on now. Come on.
And that hit me because we have a lot of marches. We have a lot of meetings. We have a lot of Zooms. But who's out there every day? And then that leads to this story, quick story that I'm going to share, and Brandon and Nadir can attest to it. I even almost gave up recently, not in terms of BET,
right?
But there's a store who calls me whenever these group of children come by. And as long as I've been in my neighborhood, I've never been disrespected by any young person, and in fact, even my peers. But I almost got cursed out because I told a young man he had to leave, you know. And when his uncle came up, you know, his uncle said, I'm glad it was you. Almost as if to say, if it wasn't you, it would have been something else. So we have to be out here every day, and we have to be willing to do. We don't have, you know, black male educators because some of us don't do it. We don't have people out there every day because we're afraid to. Even I sometimes, I'm prayerful first because I'm not even sure what the results will be if I ever the wrong person.
Wow.
So being every day makes a difference.
Jesus, you're right. You're absolutely right. Being there every day, not just when it's there's an opportunity with the news camera, you know, or to have your name in lights. You're absolutely right, which is why I'm very skeptical of the folks who, and I said this on the show yesterday, I'm very skeptical of the folks who are only doing this because they get their names in lights or there's a big fund, a pot of money at the thing of it. But if you really care about young people and care about what's happening in the city, you'd be doing it every single day without fail. Every day. I agree with you. You have one last thing you wanted to do, and then I have to say goodbye to all of you because I have to get off the air. Nick Taliaferro is coming up next.
Gotcha. Well, I certainly want to appreciate you. We know this was Women's History Month, and I want you to know directly that we appreciate you every day, not just in this month, similar to Black History Month. And so on the BET Talk Show, you know, that 2 weeks ago, you know, I wrote a poem and it's about the celebration, and I included women little by little because you guys mean something to me. So I did include you. All right. So it goes like this. If you listen to his story, he will say that she is what we consider synonymous to completion. She as in woman. If you listen to his story, she is one who filled the gap when he couldn't manage. If you listen to his story, he would say that she is the glue that holds it all together, the rib, the spine, the line you don't cross to minimize life's damage. His story says that without motherhood, you don't have effective father nor brotherhood. His story says that without sisterhood, no way in the world Mr. Hood would be as strong as he could be. If you listen to his story, it would say that the girlhood certainly helps motivate the brothers into thoroughhood. If you listen to his story, he must know me well, because it's also my story, as it is with most men who don't mind telling the story of how the rib in the crib did everything she did to make sure that we were able to persevere and to live. The Sojourners, the Tubmans, the Ayanas with the Avas, the Roses, the Michelles, the women with determination flavor, the mothers who birthed the greats that were more than just carriers, the Oprahs, the Jemisons who paved the way by breaking barriers. Like our locals, Lisa Forrest, Martha Lang, Kamala Harris, Amanda Gorman, Katherine Harris, and others who magnify life for me. There are so many more that some will never mention because they weren't in the spotlight enough to obtain media attention. Like my mother, Loretta, Wanda Woodard, Betty Jones, Gertrude Teets, so many more, Andrea Lawful Sanders, etc. I could go on, and I'm sure you have some. I must say it again, that his story tells it all, of the women who stepped out on faith and heeded the call to action and reaction that influenced his story and its unveiled mystery. The reason I thank God for all women who we celebrate today, making both sung and unsung history. To you ladies, I celebrate you.
Oh, what a great way to end Women's History Month and to end this show. Thank you, gentlemen, Nevin, Nadir, Brandon, and Mr. Richard Washington. Send a copy of that poem to me, please. I think that's a wonderful thing. I'll send it to Dee so that I can put it up on the WURD website. That's a good piece. That was really excellent. I want to thank you all for being a part of the show. We'll see you next month, and we'll talk more about what's going on, okay? Have a good afternoon, all of you. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Nadir. Bye, Brandon.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye, Nevin. Bye. See you all later. Oh, so cute. They're so cute. They're so cute. Oh, I could cry. Children are so cute. All right, I'm getting ready to get off the air now. I want to thank you all for your patience. I'll see you all at Thursday. This has been an interesting ride for me. Traveling, I'm a traveling person now, and I actually wanted to see how this worked, if I could travel and do this. Not because I am a glutton for punishment, but I have some projects that are in my mind, and I have to figure out how to travel and do those projects. And so this, I see, can happen. And so I am now going to go spend some time with my parents. I will not be on the air tomorrow. I'll be on the air on Thursday, and spend some time with them and get to figure out what we're doing with each other, because I don't have much time to work with them because I have to go back home and get some more work done. So coming up next is Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. I want to thank you all for just being who you are and encouraging me, because I am literally operating on 2.5 hours worth of sleep in 2 days. I am tired, but you all pushed me through, and I was able to get it together. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.